Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama.
We bring the jury.
Bring the jury. We talked about murder yesterday on True Crime and Wine Time Live. Hello, everybody. We're early. We're late, but also then early. Anyway, thanks for being patient this morning when we had some technical difficulties because you can't be a streamer without constant technical difficulties. They go hand in hand, hand in hand. But we are here now. Today we're rewatching the opening statements from Lindsay Clancy yesterday. I have not watched them. Buffy has. And it seemed, based on her notes, that I'm going to get very pissed by some of the comments by the state regarding mental health and things like that. Now, listen, I'm not going to be watching this whole trial. It is not happening. It is 6 weeks long. Unfortunately, I don't have that time with my son starting high school soon. Also, the subject matter, the kids, I've covered trials that involve kids, and they are very hard for me to cover and bounce back from. Kudos to those that can do it, those that are doing it. Please go watch them for this case because it's going to take a lot of work every day to sit there and watch and listen to this trial and take it in and deal with that. So, but maybe we'll, do some updates throughout this trial because this trial is incredibly important. Incredibly important. If you don't know the story, Lindsay Clancy, married, 3 beautiful children. They're going to argue in opening statements here. The defense is going to say she had a lot of postpartum psychosis / depression, which is very, very, very real. And this unfortunately happens more often than anybody really wants to admit. A mother experiencing that and then taking the lives of her children. And so that's what this case is about. Because not only did she take the lives of her 3 children, she tried to take her own life, and she is now paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And so postpartum mental health in general is a very important subject to me as somebody who lives with it. And I hear I'm going to be very, very annoyed and mad with Massachusetts again. I don't know what's going on there, y'all, but yikes. But before we get all into that and the anger and the sadness that this case does bring, please like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already, so you don't miss when we go live or drop an episode. If you want me to do updates, want us to do updates on this case as it goes along, maybe some certain witnesses you might want us to listen to, please leave those in the comments. And I'll try to get to them when we can. But we have a pretty booked schedule because not only are we covering, this today, but we're going to be covering the Karen Reed civil trials. There's 4 of those. I know. I just did all of 2024 for the O'Keefe's last night. Wrote it out and everything. It's ready to go.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot. We got Murdaugh over on True Crime and Wine Time Live. We're also doing, of course, Bricks and Minifigs. We're in the middle of organizing the unredacted body cam right now. So that's taking a little bit more time while we needed to fill in with some other stuff. And of course, Laura Owens. So we have a pretty full plate, but I'm always willing to add more for the right reasons. And this is definitely one of those cases that we need to keep our eye on. Hello, Christine. Welcome. Let's say hi to the chat while we're waiting for others to come in since we're not our normal time today. Hope you're doing well. And 80s Music Man, hope you're doing well as well. Well as well. Apparently, well is the only word I know today. Lady in Gray, good morning. And Mary, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well today, babe. This is on both channels today. Well, hello, both channels, True Crime and Wine Time and Couch Court with Llama. By the way, Couch Court with Llama is going to be moving to its own channel. It has its own channel right now at Couch Court with Llama. So if you enjoy this show, make sure you go subscribe there because soon enough, and some of our other shows that are upcoming are only going to be there, including the Karen Reed stuff. So make sure you go side up over there. Oh, hello, say cheese. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Cheers, 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 cheers. Savage about the technical difficulties. This is unacceptable. I want to speak to the manager of the internet right now. I know. I know. It's all crazy. Hello, Amos. Good morning. Hope you're doing well, babe. Hello, Negla. Hello. Amos says your hair looks great. I love that.
Thank you.
You're interested in Karen Reed. Last I thought she was kind of guilty, but I haven't been following up. Oh, that's interesting. Well, Karen Reed, the 2.0, the retrial, was the first trial I covered under Couch Court with Llama. So it's like a blast from the past. But the civil cases are all very interesting and a mess and wild. So
It is a giant cluster.
it is. And like when you have a bunch of different defendants with all their different lawyers, oh my God, it's so many documents. Now, we're not going to read all of the documents. A lot of them I'm going to summarize to get us caught up because there is a hearing next week. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll get us that caught up by then, but I'll get us pretty close. But when there's like so many defendants and lawyers, all right, and one person files something that they need a response from, you get 6 other responses from the defendants. All, it's very complicated. So I made all the spreadsheets of who sent what and when, uploaded them all, started going through them last night. It's wild. So we'll definitely be covering that. And as I said, that will be on the Couch Court with Llama channel. So if you want Karen Reed stuff, that is where you can find it. I'm not sure if we're getting to that on Thursday or not. We'll see.
Ooh,
Hello, Bruce. Good morning to you. Hope you're
good
doing
morning.
good, sir. Carmen, Nat Electric. Good morning to you, babes. Almost a lucky winner last night for a member appreciation. Sorry you weren't, but happy to see you there. Hello, Sammy Sunshine. Good morning. All right, so let's go ahead and get in. We're just watching the opening statements today. I'm not going to do the whole day one. Apparently, there's not court today, which I did not know. So if you already watched it, you can watch it again with us in our commentary. Like I said, Buffy's watched it. I have not. So that should prove to be very interesting. So we will be talking, we will be pausing, we will be talking. And if you don't like that, that's fine. You can go
I
find
don't
the
like it.
Court TV. So there's that. I get it. It's not for
I
everybody.
don't like listening to our commentary.
Is it because we're
I'm just kidding.
ridiculously hard to listen to?
No, I made a lot of commentary alone in my kitchen while I was cleaning. And I
Oh,
was
I
so
bet.
mad that I didn't have anybody to yell at. So I
I
just
know.
yelled
You'll
in
have
our
to be.
chat.
Yeah, you left the messages. I was like, okay. No, I'm just
Like,
kidding.
what is this bullshit? Anyway.
Yeah. So again, we are back in Massachusetts, state we
Yeah.
can never seem to leave for its shenanigans.
Consider
One
the
of
source.
many places where shenanigans happen. And so opening statements, we have, it looks like 2 prosecutors, lady prosecutors. I don't know anybody's names in this trial, so I guess we'll get to
That's
learn.
okay.
Yeah.
The only person you need to know is her attorney. He's surprisingly feisty.
Ah,
He looks like grandpa, but he's like
Sincoda.
fired up.
I haven't seen you in so long. It is a rough case to watch. We're just doing opening statements for now, and maybe we'll do updates because, yeah, it's a lot, but it's very important. And I think it's important to keep the message out there of how real all of this could be and is for many women, by the way, despite some of the things that you hear today that may be promoting the stigma against mental illness, mental health, or postpartum. Below, if you are pregnant or just had a baby, it's very, very serious. If you have any of these thoughts, please call the hotline that is scrolling across the bottom of the page. You can call or text 1-833-TLC Mama. You are not alone, and it will be okay. All right. Do not let statements make it seem like it's something that's all in your head or not right with you. That's not true. Okay. Especially if you have been pregnant, are pregnant, or no longer pregnant, but had a baby. Maybe you didn't have a baby. Maybe you either way, call that number. Okay. It's very, very serious, and it's okay. It's okay. Millions of other women have went through it too. All right, so you're not alone, despite whatever you hear today. But anyway, all right, let's get into it today. All right, let's hear this bullshit. I don't know how good the audio is, so I got closed caption on me for it.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
That's not too bad.
Cora. She had just turned 5. She was sweet, silly, smart. She loved sparkly dresses and wearing bows in her hair. She loved princesses and baby dolls.
Start with the kids
She even
first.
tried to convince her preschool teachers at the beginning that her name was Sophia because she loved the Disney character Sophia the First so very much. Dawson. He was 3, a boy's boy. He was a bit rambunctious, but funny, full of energy. He loved trucks, construction trucks, fire trucks, and he spoke with a raspy little voice. Callan. Callan was just 8 months old. Always smiling, with chunky cheeks, a sweet little baby. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, because they are not. They were strangled, deliberately and meticulously, killed by this defendant on January 24th of 2023. One by one, she wrapped exercise bands around each one of the kids' necks and pulled until their little bodies were limp and lifeless. First Dawson, then Cora, and finally Callan. Your job, ladies and gentlemen, is not easy in this case. The evidence will be difficult to see, to hear.
This might be one of the hardest cases for juries, period. Like, I don't know how it's going to be so difficult to have to make
It
the
is going to be
decisions they do.
difficult to hear. And that's what they're going to do, is play on the emotion of how they were killed
Mhm.
instead of the why.
Yeah,
And
but I
that,
imagine. But at the end of the day, right? You have 3 dead kids, and you might have to make a not guilty by reason of insanity, verdict, and that's just that's a a juxtaposition of like, it's very complicated
uh-huh.
feelings you have there, right? Because your first is outrage.
Think I'm just heartless.
Well,
I
I'm
can.
looking at this from
I know.
well,
I
these people
know.
don't know
I'm not
anything
lay
about court.
people.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, these jurors, they don't know anything about court, how it works. They're hearing this for the very first time. Some of them,
Right.
some might have already kind of heard about it, but immediately, like, holy shit, I'm here and I have to decide justice for 3 little babies because they're all babies.
Well,
And then they're
I
about to
hope.
hear, oh, oh my.
Well, I hope her attorneys took that into account when they were doing jury selection
Mm,
and
I'm
picked
sure.
the best jurors that could do that. I mean, I would hope that they did that.
Well,
But
it's
I don't
hard
know.
because even if they end up voting, uh, not guilty by reason of insanity, in a way, it seems like there's not justice being done. However, well, I'm going to reserve my those thoughts actually for the end of the opening statement. So I'll come back to those later. But I'm sure these jurors are just sitting there right now, like, oh shit. Okay. All right. Well, this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be a long 6 weeks, and it's gonna be a long 6 weeks, I can tell you that. Those poor little babies.
To process testimony of witnesses, family, friends, teachers, people who knew the Clancy family, people who saw them regularly, people who saw them on the day in which this defendant killed them. They're all going to come before you. And it may be heartbreaking to hear what they have to say. You'll see photographs of the crime scene. You'll hear testimony from first responders. They're going to tell you about what they discovered when they came into the Clancy home at 47 Summer Street in Duxbury on January 24th.
But they didn't mention what Lindsay did to herself. Are they not allowed to bring it up?
Oh, no, it gets brought up.
Oh, just
Keep
weird
watching.
that they. Okay.
This is just how the prosecutors chose to open this.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay.
Fourth. You'll hear evidence about the defendant during that time period, observations of her physical appearance, her demeanor. You'll hear testimony about what she was reporting to her friends and family and doctors during this time period. The list of witnesses is quite long. Law enforcement, firefighters, friends, family, teachers, crime scene investigators, forensic scientists, toxicologists, medical examiners, experts. We expect over the next few weeks that you will be able to, or will be able to present to you a clear picture of what was occurring in the Clancy household on January 24th of 2023. We ask that you keep an open mind when you're hearing this evidence, and during the course of the trial, don't forget that you use your common sense and your life experience. Those are things that you bring as jurors to the courtroom every day, and it's what's going to take you into the deliberation room at the end of this trial.
Okay.
So what happened? On January 24th, 2023, it had recently snowed. It was in fact Tuesday.
Oh my God! Not a snowstorm in Massachusetts. Can we trust the weather reporting?
Was it enough to track a cat?
Was it enough to track a cat? What's that? You think Mass knows how to do snow, but they don't. All right, they don't at all. Sorry, you gotta find some humor where you can put it in a case like this. And I'm gonna make lots of Karen Reed references just to get through this because it's gonna be hard. So okay.
For days that Cora and Dawson usually went to preschool. They attended the Learning Sprouts preschool in Duxbury, but they didn't attend on Tuesdays. So on this day, they were home.
Oh yes.
On this particular day, Cora, who had just turned 5, had an appointment at the doctor's, an annual checkup. And so the defendant brought her first thing in the morning to the doctor's. Defendant's husband, Patrick Clancy, was home and he was caring for Callan and Dawson while defendant took Cora to the doctor. Pretty normal. You'll hear and see that Patrick and the defendant exchanged text messages that morning. Patrick sends a photo of Dawson, who had just dressed himself that day and he was jumping for joy. And he sends that text to the defendant while she's at the doctor. And while at the doctor, the defendant sends a text of Cora and her little Johnny and mask to Patrick. When the defendant and Cora returned home that morning, Patrick went downstairs to his basement office to do work, same as he had normally done on any other day since returning from paternity leave. And then the defendant was charged with caring for the kids for the rest of the day. She put Callan down for a nap, bundled up Cora and Dawson, took them outside to the backyard, and played in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent pictures of the snowman and the kids in the snow to Patrick when he's working in the basement, and her mom, who was living in Connecticut, who had just been there that weekend but had gone home. The day proceeds as normal. You'll hear Patrick describe it as a good day, actually. In the late afternoon, around 4 p.m., the defendant searched on her phone for kids' Miralax. She searched takeout 3V, and she opened the Apple Maps on her phone and searched the route that it would take to get from their house to the 3V restaurant in Plymouth. She searched how much time and how far it was. Now, this restaurant had been a place that the family had eaten before, but wasn't their normal takeout spot. She also called CVS and asked them about the kids' Pedialax or Miralax. And that's because at the doctor earlier that day, the doctor had recommended a laxative for Cora because she had some stomach issues. She had complained of an upset tummy at school the day before, you'll hear. She had some issues where she didn't like to go to the bathroom at school, a little bit embarrassed. So they suggested the Pedialax. So she calls CVS and she confirms that they actually have it.
Hi, April.
At their
We
local
do.
CVS in
And
Kingston.
Clint.
Then she sends a text to Patrick and asks if he wants to get takeout, if 3V is okay. She didn't feel like cooking dinner. It was a long day. He says, sure. She calls in the order. When Patrick leaves the house around 5:15 that evening, everything is normal, seems normal. He sees Dawson eating chicken nuggets and green beans on the couch before he walks out the door. Patrick leaves to go to 3V, and he's going to stop at CVS on the way there. That's when the clock starts, ladies and gentlemen. The defendant knows that Patrick has to stop at CVS, go to 3V. She knows that it's about 5 miles from their house to get to the restaurant. She knows approximately how much time she has for him to go there and come back. She then takes the children down into the basement. She separates Dawson from Cora and Callan, and then she proceeds to wrap exercise bands around each child's neck and pull until they are dead. She leaves the band.
Question: what are the exercise bands, like the things with the handle that you like? do
No,
that
they're
with,
like
or-
they're like elastic rubber bands. Exercise bands are just rubber, like really big rubber bands.
Okay.
Not, you're thinking of the ones with the metal spring? No,
Yeah.
elastic
Okay.
bands. And
Okay.
you use them for like resistance training, like, because I use them too.
I
Use
don't
them
work.
in physical therapy.
No, not
Like they're
Okay.
each like elastic band has a different like resistance weight, so you can
Okay.
use one that's not a whole lot, and it
But not
just
the
it's
metal
like for full
coil
erection.
ones.
No.
Okay, well, that's
It's just a big rubber band.
better than what I thought and had in mind.
No,
But
no,
I mean,
it's a rubber band.
neither one's great. But
No,
you know what I mean.
no,
Okay.
it's like an elastic band. It's just like a
Okay.
big giant rubber band. You're gonna put one around your ankle, the other one around the other ankle, and just like
Okay. Step on it
exercise.
and like pull it up. I think I've seen people
Yeah,
do that. I don't
yes.
work out, guys. All
Resist.
right.
They're actually called resistance bands.
Okay. Okay.
They're not like the
No
yeah,
handle.
like
Just
in the 80s.
okay. Hey, I don't know. I've never even been to a real gym, so I don't know. Anyway, okay. Thank you for
Girl, you can
clarifying
buy
that.
them at Walmart. You don't
I
have
ain't
to go to
spending
a
money
gym to
on
find
none
it.
of it.
We
No,
use
I
it.
was
People in physical therapy use it to regain strength. If they can't do like standing exercises, you can do them sitting. It's just to, strengthen.
okay. Okay. Well, that's better than what I had in mind. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
Wrapped around each child's neck and goes back upstairs. In the kitchen, she gets a knife, and then she proceeds to the second floor of the home. In the middle of this, she misses a call from Patrick. He's at CVS. She misses the call. She calls him right back, and they talk for 14 seconds. Nothing that she does or says in that phone call is of concern to Patrick. He proceeds on his task, and she proceeds with hers. She goes to the second floor master bedroom, locks the door, crushes up some pills, and attempts to take her own life. She uses the knife she got in the kitchen to slash her wrists and her neck. She moves the bed away from the wall, away from the window. She opens that window and goes out. She lands on the cold, hard ground. Shortly thereafter, around 6 p.m., Patrick comes home. He's got the takeout bag and the CVS bag with the medicine. He enters into the house through the mudroom door into the kitchen area, places the bags down. It's eerily quiet. He calls to the kids, no answer. He calls to the defendant, no answer. He takes out his phone and dials the number for Lindsay's phone, defendant's phone. No answer. He then goes upstairs and finds the master bedroom door locked. He opens it and enters the room, sees blood and the window open.
Oh, poor Patrick.
He then goes to the backyard, and that's where he finds the defendant. She's on the ground outside that window, moaning and mumbling. At 6:11 p.m., he calls 911 for help. First responders arrive to the home almost immediately. He's still on the phone with 911 when the responders arrive, and they go right to the backyard and tend immediately to the defendant. While they're with the defendant, Patrick tells the first responders, "I need to find my kids." He had asked the defendant where the kids were, and she told them they were in the basement. So when he went in the house, that's the first place he went, down into the basement. He's still on the phone with 911 when he finds each child with an exercise band still wrapped around their neck. He screams for help, and he says, "She killed the kids." Efforts made to resuscitate Cora and Dawson were futile, but first responders from Duxbury and the surrounding communities were persistent, and they kept trying to resuscitate them all the way to the hospital. But when they arrived at the hospital, there was nothing more that medical staff could do for Cora and Dawson. The staff at Beth Israel were able to get a heartbeat on Callan, but he never started breathing on his own. He never regained consciousness. He had no brain activity. Nonetheless, he was transferred to Boston Children's Hospital, where he died 3 days later on January 27th. The defendant was taken to South Shore Hospital and then transported subsequently to Brigham and Women's in Boston. She had multiple traumas, including spinal injuries, as well as superficial injuries to both her wrists and her neck. She is paralyzed. We expect during the course of this trial that you'll hear the defendant made claims that either right after Patrick left the house or after he called her from the CVS, depending on which version of the events she's telling, she heard a voice, a male voice, a voice that she had never heard before, a voice that she never heard again. And that voice told her that it was her last chance, that she had to kill the kids so that she could kill herself. She immediately took action when she heard the voice, with no direction or details from this so-called voice, and she killed the children. Once she killed the children, the voice stopped. When you consider this information in the course of the trial, ladies and gentlemen, I ask that you consider the source, the timing, the substance of her statements about this voice. You're also going to hear from, or you may hear from, forensic psychologists and psychiatrists who talk about what's called command hallucinations and voices that people hear before they do something. And when you hear that testimony, I ask that you keep in mind the details of what she's saying the voice told her and the details of when this voice spoke to her. Another important thing to remember throughout the course of this trial is that this is not a case about the Lindsay Clancy that sits before you today. This case is about the Lindsay Clancy on January 24th, 2023, at the time of the crimes. This was not a woman in the throes of psychosis on January 24th, 2023. This was a woman who acted intentionally, rationally, and swiftly to accomplish a very specific goal: to kill.
Okay.
You'll see and hear evidence about all the things that she did that day, what she did in the days leading up to this incident, leading to the murders. You'll hear her spending time with her family and friends. You'll hear her appearing to be in good spirits and doing better for all intents and purposes. On that very day, you'll hear she interacted with people at the doctor's office. She came home and took care of the kids. She talked to people on the phone and but via text message.
What is she?
The evidence will show you she was not psychotic that day.
All right, we're gonna fucking pause here. Okay.
I knew you were about to like jump the shark. When I heard this, I was like, oh, Llama gonna have a lot to say about that, because apparently you're supposed to just walk around like drooling on yourself all day.
No, that's not really how any of it works. As a matter of fact, sadly, there's a whole list of people who had great days and then they weren't here anymore. It's actually way more common for that to be the case. So for this biatch here to sit there and say, well, everything was fine. She was having a great day. Yeah, that's usually how it goes for a lot of people, unfortunately. And there's sadly a long list of people we've lost who had great days. It's not a one size fit all when it comes to suicide at all. For some people, they are in great moods and people don't see the red flags. And that's because they've made peace with their decision. They've made a decision and they've made peace. It's a very common thing to witness. The second thing, and listen, this is going to be a heavy show, guys. All right. Because I'm going to tell you based on my own experience with things. And it might be tough for some of you to hear if you've never been through it or if you have been through it. But, and I don't even need to hear Lindsay's example, but when she says there is a voice that Lindsay said she has never heard before, I have heard that voice on the night that I almost took my own life. I've never heard this voice ever in my entire life until that day when I had to sit there and lay on my hands for 10 hours because I was terrified of moving, because if I did, I would listen to what the voice was telling me to take those pills. And I laid there by myself. And I have never heard that voice again. But it is a very real and it is a very real scary voice to hear. I don't even hear other voices in my head, not your voice, not anybody's, like many of you. It's just me in there all the time. And so, and listen, I have been majorly depressed numerous times in my life. And I was then too. It was a really, really bad bout of depression. And then after those 10 hours, always kind of had, there's a difference between ideation and a plan. All right. And that's the thing, right? Is it's the minute where it shifts. And that's kind of when that voice kicks in. Like, you know what? All this could easily go away. All this pain, all this, your fail, everything. And it's quick. You know, I had already been super depressed for weeks and never really had that until it happens. And it is just like that. And it's not just me that happens to. I was a NAMI peer support group facilitator. And guess what? What I just said was common amongst many of us. People don't really like talking about it because it makes them uncomfortable. And I understand that. But we can't do suicide prevention and awareness without being real about how it works. And so for her to just sit here and be like, well, she was great. And then what happens later that day? You can't tell me that's a person that is in any way, shape, or form not in a good place. And people also misconstrue that when you're having these suicidal ideations and thoughts, those are delusions as well. People chalk psychosis and delusions up one way, but those are delusions too, because it's not true, right? It's not true that it'll make your pain away. It's not true that it'll make people, you know, you won't burden them. It tells you all of these lies about yourself to the extreme. If you're having those are delusions, you know? And so to just sit there and say that is, I do have a problem with people that say these kind of things because it really goes with the stigma of mental health and mental illness. And I will fight back every time I see that happen. And that's exactly what this is, because she's saying, hey, you know what? If you're having a good day, but you're having these thoughts, don't worry, you're not actually unwell. No, you are. You are unwell. And it doesn't have to be that way. Oh, okay. Sorry. I told you I'm gonna get it's gonna be a heavy show if this is the way things are going. I'm just gonna let y'all know that. So if those topics aren't your bag, that's okay. I understand that. But I can't just let her sit here and spew like, oh, this is how this works. Because it's not. It's not at all, unfortunately. So, all right, let's see what else she has to say about this.
Throughout the evidence in this trial, you will learn about the defendant being the classic overachiever in school, in her personal life, in her nursing career. She was someone who liked to control every little detail of her life, of her family's life.
It's called anxiety, sure.
In contrast to pictures you'll see of the doting mother, the dedicated nurse, you'll also see a side of Lindsay Clancy that's different. Somebody extremely controlling, meticulous, and manipulative. The days were laid out with specificity. Strict schedules were expected to be maintained. Food was planned carefully. Sleep was scheduled to the minute. And at the time after Callan was born, or last
I don't know what all she's been diagnosed with, but this is not surprising to me whatsoever. I mean, you have 3 small children, you gotta find a balance for them all, but also if you're starting to have anxiety, depression, things like OCD even, I don't know what Lindsay's diagnoses are, but this is not surprising for somebody that is unwell with 3 small children. I don't know if calling it controlling makes it seem like that's intentional when sometimes it's just a symptom of what is going on with you.
From
So
what I'm understanding, and like I said, I don't know all the details of the Lindsay Clancy case, but from what I've gathered, the problem is there wasn't a correct diagnosis.
well, and it's all her fault. How dare she? Oh my goodness. Exactly. People, it happens way, way more often. Way, way more often, unfortunately. So, yep, lots of examples of that. But again, if you are having struggles, please reach out to the hotline. Go to a peer support group. NAMI has them all over the country. I can tell you based on my own experience, peer support did a huge number in my recovery from my episodes. And I could not have made it without them because to sit there with other people who have been through it too is extremely powerful because you can actually be yourself and it's really uplifting and inspiring. So it's not as all everybody talks about how sad they are all the time, actually. We had a lot of good times in there because we all just understood one another. So, oh, this lady's already pissed me off. And this is what I'm talking. There has to be another way if you want to press charges so badly. This is not going to be a good look for them in the end. I will be very surprised. This is not going to convince all 12 people at this rate. But okay, we'll see. We'll see. Remember, Andrea Yates was found guilty the first time. She got a retrial and she's found not guilty by insanity. So it can happen. Let's not all get super pumped up. However, we're what? 20 something years later, same exact case, same exact arguments. I don't know, but we know more now about it than we did during Andrea's time.
And yet we know
still.
so little.
And yet we still know so little. Oh my goodness, yes, we know so little about postpartum depression and psychosis. And like I said, she's not. Terry has a show, Dearest Mother's Darkest Secrets. The majority of those cases are women suffering from this same thing. It is a problem. And this is not going to help those that are struggling out there right now. Right now, the odds of it leading to homicide or suicide are small, but those lives matter. You know, her life matters, her kids' lives matters. We need to do something. We're just not well. Our system isn't equipped for this. I'll go on those rants later. Don't you worry. I got many of rants about, you could sit here and say, get all the help you want, but that's not really how our country works. But we'll save those for later.
Last baby, the family had to adjust. And by all sources that I expect you're going to hear at that trial, that summer was great. But after Patrick had finished his paternity leave and was back to work full time, when she no longer had a nanny to watch the baby, do laundry, tidy up the house, follow her schedule, when she was responsible for it all, it was hard. It was hard for her to maintain that control. It was hard for her to bond with her kids. And in efforts to maintain control, she withheld information from her husband, from her doctors. She reported serious symptoms that were inconsistent with her daily activities, you'll hear. And ultimately, on January 24th.
What? Ma'am. Ma'am. Does she think that everyone she's encountered in her whole life aren't just masking and hiding because they're not outwardly telling you about all the fucked up shit going on in their head?
That's what it sounds like she's trying to say, Llama. And that's when I threw my phone across the room. I was like,
Well,
of course she felt overwhelmed when she didn't have help. Of course she didn't tell everybody what she was thinking. What would people, how you don't want people looking at you like there's something wrong. Then you're like, am I really thinking that? Like, what?
Mhm.
There's a real struggle going on in your head. Like, no, I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm supposed to love my kids. I'm supposed to feel like this is my job. This is what's wrong with me. I can't tell people that I'm feeling this way because you're going to be
Oh,
judged.
oh, and being a mom, the pressures on to look like I mean, we've talked about it, having, been moms of kids that, are on the spectrum and have difficulties. It's really hard because you feel like, well, I'm not doing enough, right? Because sometimes they'll make you feel that way in the schools, things like that. You're not doing enough. You're not making the right decisions over your kid and your kid's issues and their behavior. Like it is so much. And you can't just go telling everybody because boy, does everyone love to tell you how to be a fucking mom, don't they? They sure do. And I do think that, it's hard to sit there also as a mother who suffers from, mental health episodes. It's so hard when you are going through something and you have a child because you're not you're incapable of being the mom that you need and want to be with them. Because remember, when your brain is experiencing any of the plethora of things, parts of your brain are literally not working. You can't will them to work. All right. If you can, congratulations, you've solved the mental health crises around the world. Bravo. But their brains don't work that way. You can't just will it to do something when it decides it doesn't want to. But to sit there and be like, well, she didn't tell everyone how she was really feeling. Get out. No wonder, because there's people like you walking around judging all the time, being like, well, yeah, but is that really real? Or like you doing it for attention? Or have you tried to go outside and just take a walk? I mean, those things could help, but they're not going to help. All right. They're
Right?
not going
Like
to
when
help the real problem.
someone tells you, you just need to go spend some time getting your nails done. I'm like, great, super.
Right.
That'll fix my problems.
Right. Like we talk all the time. We tell each other a lot of our shit, but I don't sit there and tell you guys everything, you know?
Yeah.
The other night, I had a panic attack and I was just like, I gotta go, bye. And just kind of like, I didn't go through the whole thing with like, nobody does that when you're experiencing something like that because it is very private. It's very personal. You don't know, you don't want to be a burden onto other people with these, when your brain is being very loud for whatever reason it is. I mean, not even having depression or psychosis, people with ADHD, OCD, your brain is loud. It is screaming at you all the time. How are you supposed to? And many of us don't even have those words in our language to tell you what is going on, how to describe it. It takes a lot of awareness and work to finally be able to say out loud what is going on inside your brain, So this woman's already pissed me off. She's already on my shit list. This is not helping at all. This is perpetuating the stigma of mental health and it's pissing me off. Exactly. Exactly, April. But even then, that voice can take over and it will hold you hostage. It will absolutely do that. All right. Ugh. Okay.
4th, 2023, the defendant made a calculated decision. This was a woman who no longer liked the life she thought she wanted. It was getting harder and harder to control. And when she saw the opportunity to escape, she made the selfish choice to take it and to take Cora, Dawson, and Callan first before attempting to take her own life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a public debate about women's mental health and how the medical system treats women. This case is about this defendant, Lindsay
It's a
Clancy.
struggle.
There is no dispute that she was
That
dealing
part
with mental
pissed me
health
off.
issues during this time period.
Go ahead. You sound off.
Oh no, that part. This is not a public debate about women's mental
Mhm.
health issues.
Yeah. Oh, I just went on a rant, so I didn't know if you wanted to have
No,
a rant
I
of your
was
own
just like,
since you were listening to stuff.
she just
Yeah.
said that, and I
Yeah.
was like, how did you just not say all that? And then you're going to say, this is not a public debate, and then you just wanted to say that she just killed her kids because she just did it. She just got tired of her life. Like
Well,
that's not.
and she used 3 different possible methods on herself.
That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't rationalize in my brain.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Over over this already, but
She got tired of her life
it very
and just decided she was going to take everybody out. Like, I'm sorry.
does that happen
don't
sometimes,
believe
but
it.
I don't think that's this case. All right.
I'm not buying it on the no, there's
Mm-mm.
yeah, I'm
That's-
not
They're
buying
trying to
it.
treat it like it's a Diane Downs, Susan Smith kind of case here. I don't think so. They're very, very, very different, and the others were not because of postpartum. But there are many people in the world, in this country, who think exactly what she is saying right now. Not just about this case, but in general. And that's why people have a hard time that experience this stuff speak out, because they're like, yeah, but that's not really. Can't you just not be this way? When I was in the depressive episode that I was just referring to that time, I withdrew because that's what I always do. But I also was very aware of how this negative energy affects those around me. And I did not want that to happen, right? So I retreated. I stayed at home. That's what I always do. It's not the greatest. Self isolation actually is the leading cause of suicide, is when you feel so isolated and there you have nobody to talk to. That's why we shouldn't keep perpetuating the stigma about not talking about it or bringing it up, because that isolation is the biggest factor in that. But anyway, I digress. And I had people be like, "Yeah," like when they came over, I thought they were friends, and then they would yeah, she is just so negative to be around right now. And I'm just like, yeah, that's why I'm not around. Like, I know this. I don't know what you want from me. I can't change it. I wish I could, but those people. Anyway, so whenever, this is why I think more people need to speak out against the stigma. It's very, very important. Okay.
Prior to the murders, there'll be medical records, medical doctors, mental health professionals that will talk about treatment, prescriptions, hospital visits. All that's going to be before you. The evidence will show that this defendant had a means and access to mental health that most people don't. And she chose to deal with her mental health issues in the worst way.
Okay. First of all, the mental health care system in our country is a fucking joke. All right? It is. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, actually, because it doesn't matter. We don't have enough hospitals. We don't have enough staff. Insurance plays games on how long you can stay there, not how long the doctor wants you to stay there. No matter how well or unwell you are, it does not matter. At a certain point, they are kicking you right on out. Period. Whether you're an adult, whether you're a kid, because it's all about money. All right. So I know that she's going to be like, well, she could have stayed at the hospital longer. No. You know who else could have stayed at the hospital longer? Andrea fucking Yates. And her husband worked for NASA. And they kicked her out of the hospital over and over and over again, way too early, because insurance wouldn't keep her. Because that's the reality that we all live in when it comes to mental health. Period. It's the same everywhere. It is not well in this country. Should you try to get help? Yes. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Don't get deterred But in many areas of this country, there is no mental health help. Rural America, good fucking luck. There's one that might be 20, 30 minutes away, and you better have a car, and then you got to drive there. Mental health is not as accessible as we all talk about and want to believe it is for millions of people. I live in a large city, and even then, it is still difficult for people to get adequate mental health care. And I have options. Many others don't. And I'm sure they're going to talk about this in this trial as well, because it's all fucking bullshit. All right. If you've been part of this system, you all know the truth. That like, no, that is not at all how it works, period. So for her to be like, well, she had money and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But okay. Anyway, sorry. Get a ranty rant, llama.
Chose to manipulate her providers, seek out the quick and easy fix when she was feeling depressed and anxious.
What quick and easy fix? Ma'am, what is the secret quick and easy fix that you are speaking of? I'd like to know, because you know what? It doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, there is, if you are in a depressive episode, particularly when you have one of the illnesses that are a disease, not just like situational, like grief or something, that it's a genetic thing that you have, right? There is nothing that can take you out of a depressive episode. There's nothing that can stop it. It is just stuff to take care of your symptoms and make you comfortable while you ride it out. And you could be riding it out for a very, very long time for those of us that have, major depression disorder or bipolar depression disorder. They're serious. You're talking months to years before coming out of this up. There is no quick fix, ma'am. Drugs are also not a quick fix. If so, again, you've cured mental health. Fantastic. You've saved everybody's lives. Thank you, ma'am. Oh my God. Oh, this is just stupid, ignorant shit. Yes, the right therapist is hard to find. The right provider is hard to find. It is a fucking crapshoot. Okay. It is. Again, don't let this deter you from getting help, from trying to. All right. Because it is important that you do, because it takes lots of things to be better, lots of things and lots of time. But we need to be realistic about this. All right. And if you don't have access to a lot of these things, I cannot tell you that peer support, whether it's calling a hotline, whether it's finding a support group for mental health, it is something, and it will help to some degree. It is something. Please do that. It is discouraging to be in all of this, but that is something. And not only do they do in-person support groups, but I think they do online ones as well. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to do nothing. You can just show up and listen and not feel so alone. So let's do that. Exactly. Meds are a Band-Aid, not a cure. They're safety nets. Even when you take medicine, you need things like therapy, self-awareness, coping mechanisms, a whole toolkit to, guess what? Get through the next time you're going to be depressed. Because guess what? For those of us that live with it, it is going to come again. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what we do, how hard we work. I am going to have another depressive episode or a manic episode that lasts a very long time. It's how well have I built my tools up of how it's going to affect me in the long run. But no matter what, it's inescapable. So, sure, ma'am. Quick fix for depression, guys. Okay, let's hear more about this. Fucking stupid.
And when she didn't get what she expected, she chose an alternate route. She sought a different doctor. She changed medications after days. She disengaged from treatment when she didn't like the plan.
Pause. I bet she did try a bunch of medications. You know why, friends? In case you don't know, it's because medications are like throwing darts at a dartboard. Boom. Not a single doctor knows exactly which medicine's going to work for you. And if you start having the serious side effects within days, guess what happens? You're off that drug. That's what a good provider is going to tell you. They're also going to taper you up and down from drugs. That's what a good provider is going to do. But remember, not all providers are equal. Okay. There's bad people in all job fields, including this one. But if you are having serious side effects, I don't know what she's going to report. It is absolutely normal to be taken off that drug immediately and then probably put on another one immediately, especially if it's one that's giving you not great thoughts. Maybe it's making your anxiety worse. So they're going to give you something else. It is not a science when it comes to mental health medicine. It is not like, you have high blood pressure and they know how to fix that. Okay. We don't know how to fix any of this. We have some ideas that only work for some people. Everybody is absolutely different in how medicine affects them and what their symptoms are. That's why there's so many symptoms listed for these. So you've been working hard on recognizing triggers. That's really important, Rachel. Really, really important. And then you'll be able to sense your body kind of responding to it as well. For example, the other night, I started noticing my brain was it was getting louder and louder and overwhelmed and overwhelmed. And I was like, oh shit, I think I know what's about to happen, and then it did. But, that takes time. And another fun fact about depression, I could do a whole fucking presentation. I did one once for my support group, but so keep in mind that when someone is in a mental health crisis, we're going to pick depression because that's going to come up a lot in this, right? And it's one that actually people that don't have a disease but can experience for situational purposes, which does not make that less than. I want to make that perfectly clear. All right. Now they don't go as far into depression usually as someone with bipolar disorder or major depression disorder, but it is very real what other people experience from situational depression, and it holds the same risk, if not higher risk, actually. But anyway, I digress. So when your brain is in a depressive episode, all right, think of your brain as a wheel with little frogs or cogs, right? Little slots. So normally when your brain is working, they call it arrhythmia, right? Information comes in, it gets put in a little slot, and it goes around at normal speed and goes where it's supposed to, all outside external information, right? Now, if you're in, say, a manic episode or psychosis, all right, that wheel going super fast, all right? So any information that comes in, the brain's not taking it in because it's going too fast. It can't fall in the little cog, so it bounces off, right? And that's why people don't necessarily, they're still them, but they have a very difficult time taking in new information because it's not, the wheel's moving too fast, so very little gets in there, right? And then when you're depressed, the meaning of that is slowed down. That's the literal meaning of the word, right? So that wheel then slows down at a very slow pace, okay? Very slow. And so information, external information is coming in, but because it doesn't have the momentum, it's not making all the way around. So not as much new things can be learned. So the real care for mental health care and learning new coping mechanisms, self-awareness, triggers, that can't even be done until you are out of the episode, until your brain is back to the eurythmia wheel, where it can take in information of all kinds and build that in. Anyway, I don't know if any of this is important, but what I'm saying is there's no quick fix to any of this at all. You are held hostage the entire time you are in it. Again, they can only make you comfortable and hopefully suppress some of the symptoms and not even all. So, yeah, some can't be dropped cold turkey, that's for sure, depending on how long you've been on them. But I heard the defense brings it up, so we will get there. I gotta let my dogs out.
After only 4 months in treatment, she made a choice, a
4
deliberate and
months.
intentional decision that she did not want to try anymore. And
Bet.
because no one could take care of her kids the way she wanted them to,
Oh,
she had to take them with her. Despite all the precision that she exhibited that day, you'll hear, the timing of it all, the swiftness of the killings, overcoming the interruption of Patrick's phone call, what she did not anticipate was that she would not be able to complete the act by killing herself.
Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, people with mental illness commit crimes every day and are responsible for them. The fact that someone may suffer or have a mental illness, a mental disease or defect is not the end of the inquiry when it comes to guilt or innocence. It is whether a person can appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of the conduct and conform their conduct to the law. Do they know what they were doing?
I mean, I have mad problems with the law and mental health and imprisonment and all of that because our system sucks. So it's like, hey, by the way, we have this system built with sticks that doesn't really benefit you very much. But, you know, if you do something while you're unwell, guess what? Jail. It's fine. It's fine. And it's frustrating. But also, so she is a brand new patient in the mental health system then. 4 months is no time at all. That is a very, very short period of time of trying to get help when you've never had it before. I am not surprised it was a clusterfuck at all. Been there. It was for me, and I know it is for many others.
And can they control their actions?
Joey.
The evidence in this case will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant coldly and efficiently executed first Dawson, then Cora, and finally Callan. One by one, she strangled the life out of each one of them. She did so with no hesitation, with deliberate premeditation, and extreme atrocity and cruelty. She is criminally responsible for the murders because the evidence will prove to you that she knew exactly what she was doing. She drew her husband out of the house, their father, so that she had the opportunity and the time to carry out these murders. She maintained the ability to control her conduct, conform her conduct, when she attempted to kill herself to escape the consequences. At the conclusion of this case, we're going to come back and we're going to ask that you return guilty of the murders of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy because the defendant committed those crimes.
All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Reddington, do you wish to give an opening?
I do.
Sorry. So he didn't make it outside in time, so she peed on the floor, so I got to clean that up. Sorry.
I might use the easel, man. Be placed in front of the TV screen so that the jurors are able to. Yes. Thank you. Just put it there. You know, normally, we thank jurors for time away from your life, your jobs, your family, coming to court, listening to a trial. Certainly is a service that's provided by you as citizens. But in this case, God bless you. You people are going to have to listen to some of the most horrific things. Look at some of the most horrific things. And jurors, it's a beautiful system. You pass between, as you heard Don Clerk say, you probably don't remember it, but it's old language, goes back to Old England. It says that you as jurors pass between the government, them. And she places herself on her country, which country you are. You owe allegiance to nothing but your oath. your consideration, and your time, your common sense. You bring your life experience to this trial. You render a verdict. And as jurors, experiences, take the job very, very, very seriously. You people will never forget this case. And thank you for that service.
Exactly, Peachy Teach.
The government says that this is a situation, it's not a referendum on women's having babies and having postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, but it sure as hell is. Because you're going to hear, consistent with what is told you in the instructions, consistent with the obligation that the government has when they brought this charge. Tim Cruz, the DA, right in the front row, brought this charge.
Hatch.
He knew, as did his office, the facts of this case. And he knew when he brought this charge that it was going to kill the soul of this young woman. And they would bring their evidence in front of a jury that she knows that she killed these children. We'll sit here, listen to their evidence. But I suggest to you that the issue for consideration is what was going on in that woman's mind. You're going to hear evidence that, as the government said, Lindsay was a kind of a parent pleaser. She was a person that in school.
Was she
had a lot
first
of friends,
daughter?
Still has friends. You'll hear evidence to this day from the 6th grade, high school, college, nursing school. You're going to hear evidence that Lindsay, in the course of being in high school, she was a high achiever, gymnastics. Stopped doing gymnastics because she hurt herself and didn't like to do the backflips and stopped doing gymnastics, but she was very athletic. You're going to hear evidence that right after she had the birth, the last child, within 4 or 5 days, she ran a 5K. She was very, very, very physically fit. Her life was such that she watched what she ate, watched what she did in her life as far as activities, and was one heck of a mother. She loved her children. All the things that the DA said to you about those little kids and their life and what they like, she knows 1,000 times more than what they know. And in that capacity, as a mother, daily you'll see evidence that she would decorate rooms, that she and Patrick did have that achievement of a wonderful life. They had it all. They met in Boston. She was a young nurse out of school. He was working in his industry. They ended up falling in love. They got married, bought a nice house. And, you know, people will say, oh, they're living in this mansion. No, they're living in a very, very humble house in Duxbury that they had to struggle to pay for. That house, you will see, not from the view, because it's not enough that we have photographs. On top of the photographs, we have to have a video. And on top of the photographs and the video, we have to have an auto-computerized animated display. And on top of the photographs, the video, the automated animated display, we have to get on a bus and go take a ride and look at the house where some guy and his wife are now living, that it doesn't look at all like what it looked like when Lindsay and Patrick were living there with their 3 kids. But there are videos that show what that home looked like that day, prior to that. You'll see in every room,
Civil case?
there are things hanging on the walls, alphabets, colors, numbers, pictures of different cartoon characters, and I'm too old to even remember what they are. Movies, all sorts of toys, erector sets, trucks, all over the living room. There was no dining room. It was a large thing for the baby to be in, and then surrounded by toys. Every single room had toys in it.
When she was
These
awake.
children
Okay.
were loved and nurtured and cared for. by her. She didn't want to get rid of her kids because of her selfish life, as the government indicates. She loved those children right up to the time of their death. You're going to see that there's photographs in this case that you will be able to evaluate that show that. Some of them might even be in the videos that the state police took. This case is a massive production by the district attorney's office. You have the district attorneys, the assistant district attorneys, the assistants to the assistant district attorneys. You have the state police crime laboratory. You have the detectives. You have the state police, the armed men that will go out and interview witnesses and will investigate this case. You have the victim witness advocate, very nice lady, by the way, that deals with witnesses and people in a case such as this. It's a massive operation, and that's great. We should have that. But when you're considering the evidence, you consider the fact that you have two young people that were living this life, that were working, and Patrick, not because of COVID, not because of he just didn't want to work in an office anymore. He worked out of his basement. He worked in an office in the basement. He was there because of what Lindsay was going through. He was there. He lived it. And he will testify to it. He doesn't have to testify, quite frankly, and identify clothing and be distraught and placed in a position of horror in this courtroom. But he will testify to what they went through as a husband and a wife, the wife being pregnant. They had 3 kids. After the second child, she had postpartum. You're going to hear evidence that that's one of the issues that is important because that can lead to bipolar. One of the things that you don't do, which is taboo, is if you have somebody that's bipolar, you don't put them on an antidepressant. You don't put them on Zoloft. You don't put them on what's called an SSRI.
You don't put them on that without also having this mood stabilizer, lithium. There's a few different ones. Source me. But yeah, and it's very common too with people who already have bipolar disorder and or women who have give birth that it triggers them into an episode as well. He's not wrong when he's talking about here. They usually want that buffer for that
Well, I
because
think the way he worded it is wasn't the best.
trying.
Postpartum doesn't lead to bipolar.
Mhm.
It is an indicator that there is an if you're not already diagnosed, that it was already present.
I would say too that it is significant in comparing the two experiences, probably, right? Because it can come with similar symptoms and last a very long time. I'm
Well, I'm
sure
not
that they look similar, but they're not
I'm
the
not
same.
saying that every person who has postpartum has bipolar. What I'm
Right.
saying is that
Exactly.
it means you need to dig further.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, if you do have bipolar disorder, whether you've been diagnosed or not, and you have a kid, the percentage of you experiencing psychosis or depression postpartum on both is astronomically high. All right. It's very, very serious to want to have a kid. And you get talked a lot to about it when you have it and when you're trying to have a kid or you did get pregnant. It's a very serious risk and you should be heavily monitored during your pregnancy as well. So he's not quite correct, but I get where he's going with this. But also the reason why you can't put somebody with bipolar disorder on a depressant first is because if you give them that, it actually can cause them to go into mania, right? You know, I said the word eurythmia earlier. Everybody's baseline, everybody's here. Well, you have 1 through 5 up, which is considered mania. The middle is hypomania. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything above a 2, and not good. That's bipolar 1 disorder. All right, that's when you're going to get psychosis, and to keep going up, it gets real bad, right? And then down below is depression. Same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Real bad. And
Yeah.
so if you
I
give
learned that
somebody
the hard way with my daughter when we first started.
yeah,
And they put
that's
her on
also
it. It was like
it's a
crazy.
quick way to find out.
Yes.
It's a very, very quick way. And listen, I know people are probably like, well, Iron Mania is a good time. Well, I mean, it feels like it for a while until it's not, until you start doing things that are not things that you would normally do in your everyday life at all. And the come down is you've definitely destroyed parts of your life in some way, shape, or form. There is no, oh, it's a fun time. No, no, it's really not. At the end of the day, it's not. And the consequences from it are ones you have to live with, no matter what. But anyway, so that's what he's telling you here is that, especially if psychosis can occur, this is going to tell you real quick, by the way, if they give you an SSRI, and that's it.
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, it messes with your brain. You don't do that, but it was done in this case.
They could have explained that
The
more. but-
reason
Okay.
that Lindsay went to the doctors was in September 2022. July and August of 2022, they were very happy. Lovely little family. September, things went sideways. And she looked for, and you heard the government saying, and remember what they say in their opening, and remember that when they prepare a case, and remember how they can point at different aspects of the case to show consciousness of guilt, that show that somebody's conniving. In this case, how many times we heard she faked the suicide. Faked the suicide. Little cuts, dinky little cuts, scratches you'll hear stated in the opening statement or time of the arraignment. That she asked for a lawyer. That's rich. You're going to hear evidence that she was in her bedroom after the horrific act in the basement. And that she was up in the bedroom, that she stood in front of a full-length mirror, that she took the knife that was in the kitchen that she had taken, and when she cut her throat in front of the mirror. This is no fake suicide. This is her when she was brought to the hospital. When she was in the hospital. That's what her appearance was at the South Shore Hospital.
Oh, shoot. That was not too bad because I'm warming up the
South Shore
coffee.
Hospital, she had wonderful care and treatment that was able, against her will, to save her life.
Oh, okay. That's fine. They're not going to get it.
Big
for
suicide,
YouTube.
little scratches, dinky little scratches. This is a photograph that was taken at the South Shore Hospital of her neck. Photograph taken of her wrist showing the split in the skin. Photograph showing.
I'm gonna keep some of those
you'll see
comments
evidence of
myself.
this. The bedroom floor next to the bed with the blood. The knife next to the cup. Sadly, a gift saying because kids. You see the white residue inside the cup? That's where the pills were crushed up with leftover lemonade from the night before when she consumed that. That's the knife. This here you'll see is sleep aids.
Oh.
See this here, deep sleep pillow spray. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't sleep for months.
Mm-hmm.
More photographs of the injuries to her neck. And then, in the course of the fake suicide speculation by the police, you'll see the evidence that she hung on the window ledge and, like Spider-Man, I guess, slid down the wall of the house. You're going to hear evidence that she flung and threw herself out the window, striking her head on the ground, full ground, causing what's known as a Jefferson fracture of her neck. She shattered, exploded her thoracic spine, shattered her cervical spine, the first disc, broke every rib. And the Jefferson fracture, you'll hear evidence, is not consistent with a fake suicide by any means. Jefferson fracture is consistent with Superman when he got thrown off the horse. It's consistent with people that have the tragedy where they dive into a swimming pool as a result of which they get that fracture in their neck and they're paralyzed. She's paralyzed. She's not going to get up miraculously and walk out of this courtroom. She's paralyzed and will be paralyzed for the rest of her life. She's living her own hell. She knows what happened with those kids. And she wanted to die. When she was in the hospital, you're going to see evidence. The Brigham and Women's Hospital, when they transferred her from South Shore Hospital, air flight, into Brigham and Women's Hospital, and she was then given the emergency room and the emergency treatment at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. You couldn't move in that room. There was so much equipment, so many wires, so many breathing tubes, so many machines, humming, banging, clicking, and she's spread out like she's crucified on the bed while she's being treated in that room, surrounded by armed police officers. Out in the hallway, guarding the hallway against what? Anyone could guess. Guarding the hallway, guarding the room, guarding the bed, standing there. She's handcuffed to the bed. She goes to South Shore Hospital. Government speculates that, again, you see how the government is able to create what they want for facts, that she is so cold and calculating that she said that she heard voices after I brought a psychologist, Dr. Zeisel, into that room to see her. I had to move heaven and earth. You'll hear evidence that they wouldn't even let her have visitors. She couldn't even see her family for over a week. The cops wouldn't let anybody near her. That room was an armed camp. I had to move heaven and earth and practically get a court order to be able to get in there and see her while she's laying in the bed. And they suggest, and
It's very
will
normal,
suggest
Rachel.
that she said, I heard voices, I heard command hallucinations
suggested.
telling me to kill the kids
By doctors.
and then kill myself, after she talked to Paul Zeisel as if he was telling her what to say because I'm the lawyer and I brought him into that hospital. You're going to hear evidence that Paul Zeisel is one of the most respected psychologists. You're going to hear evidence that he was embedded with the military in Afghanistan for years. You're going to hear evidence that he works for the government when there's a shooting involving the FBI, the CIA, or any of those alphabet soup cops. He's involved out interviewing these people for post-traumatic stress. I knew that he was the man to talk to this young woman in the hospital. When I finally was able to get into that room, into that hospital, he was with me. He did not tell her command voices. He, as a human being, gave her a cell phone so she could call Patrick. But you know what? You're going to hear evidence from a woman who works at Brigham and Women's Hospital. I saw Lindsay as soon as she came out of her coma. She is a woman that works with the religious services in that hospital. And the first thing that Lindsay wanted to know is, where's my family? And then she told her about what happened and told her about the command voices. And this is well before she ever met me or Paul Zeisel. So you have to keep focused on the evidence because it's so easy to manipulate. There's no fake suicide. And there was no plan to fake her sickness. This is a young woman that, with her husband, tried very hard to get the help she needed. She went and saw a doctor by the name of, oh, by the way, remember in the open, the government says she shopped around for doctors, I guess, that she wanted to get doctors to, I don't know, give her drugs or something.
Good luck.
You can hear evidence that she went online and she looked for someone that was into neonatal, post-baby delivery, because she knew that she was in trouble. She couldn't sleep. She had insomnia. It wasn't just, when you get up in the middle of the night because your phone's on. She couldn't sleep. She only get 2 hours a night.
A lot of people think that the people in these crises are like sleeping all the time. That happens for some people, but insomnia is also equal to that. And insomnia is actually way more dangerous for the person as opposed to the person that sleeps a lot during these kind of episodes. Because, the longer your brain's awake, even for a person not experiencing these crises, the brain will start doing things to you. It'll start giving you hallucinations of different kinds. Could be audio hallucinations, like, oh, did I just hear somebody say my name and you're alone? It's a pseudo hallucination, right? Or you might see little spots here or there. Now, that's what a normal person could occur from being up 24, 36 hours or something like that. But then once you go to sleep, gone. The problem is when you're unwell and in a crisis like this, going to sleep, it doesn't make it go away. As a matter of fact, it just keeps building up and building up and building up. And then the longer you're awake, the more you are with these ruminating thoughts, the more time you spend in there, that it's harder to crawl out of. Based on my experience and some of the other ones I've heard in the group, it's pretty universal there. And then, that's when you might hear the voice, the darkness is what we would call it. Um, but insomnia when you are in a bout of crisis is extremely dangerous to the person experiencing it for sure. It really escalates things heavily.
3 hours a night if she's lucky. As time went on, in September she went see Dr. Tufts. Jennifer Tufts is the name of the doctor.
Oh yeah.
Jennifer Tufts then gave her a prescription for Zoloft, which is a antidepressant. It's one of those SSRIs.
Which I take.
She didn't take the Zoloft for a couple of weeks because she was breastfeeding. She was afraid to have the baby have anything to do with drugs, but ultimately couldn't do it any longer, took the Zoloft.
Fun story about Zoloft. So they want to say that she was medicine shopping around to all the different doctors. The incident I told you about earlier, that happened in 2018. And after that night, by the time morning came and I was able to physically move to grab the phone to call Elbow Feet to come home, it was still another 6 weeks before I could call and get myself help. Like it's a whole thing. But anyway, um, that was in 2018. I had played the dartboard of medicines for many of years. And then I want to say sometimes they helped. They didn't make me worse. The very first drug I took was Latuda, which I did not respond well to that. As a matter of fact, I tried it for 8 weeks and it made me feel like a zombie. Like it was not good. I could not take in any new information whatsoever. Like I couldn't learn how to play a dice game no matter how much Elbow Feet would, because he would play games with me just to, try to keep me distracted from my brain. But I couldn't take in learning any new rules. Anyway, it didn't work for me. It works for a lot of other people and that's great, but it did not work for me. But anyway, so I spent many years doing this, and it wasn't until I got pregnant about a year and a half ago. And because I did not know I had this going on when I was pregnant with my son the first time. But about a year and a half ago, when Elbow Feet and I got pregnant, my first few thoughts was, oh shit, because I knew the consequences that could come of it from this. Yes. And so my first call was to schedule the OBGYN appointment. My second one was to my prescriber because I said, what do I do? Is any of the medicine I'm taking okay for a baby? Is it not? What about, I had my own list of questions about my own mental health, and she said, hey, it's up to you. And, I understand your concerns. You've been in, you've had therapy every day, every Wednesday for the last 8 years. You've always been good with your meds. Like you seem very self-aware that, if you decide to go off the medicine and, for the sake of your pregnancy or afterwards, you're going to be still active in your own mental health care and it's up to me in the end, right? And so we went over all the medicines that I was on, and none of them had either enough research done, or some research had been done and the side effects were not good for baby development. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go off. I haven't had an episode for a while, but also, I have a whole healthcare team. Elbofi is very, a big participant. He's been living with me, living with this for, 14 years. And so I went off that. Well, then, as some of you know, about a month later, I lost the baby. And, we were deciding, for a few months after that, do we try to get pregnant again or do we just not? And so we were contemplating that. So when I went to my prescriber again, I said, okay, well, what can I be put back on that is going to be relatively safe, if I want, if I do end up getting pregnant again, that isn't going to mess up my medicine schedule too much, And Zoloft was the answer. It was one of the few drugs that had been tested on pregnant women for a very long time and showed little to no side effects of baby development. So I was put on that. And I'll tell you what, of all the things I had tried for the previous 8 years, Zoloft changed me a lot in a good way, in a really good way. Now, that's not the same for everyone who takes it, but I'm going to go with the reason why she was put on that was because she was breastfeeding. And but they, when you're a pregnant woman or after you're done being pregnant, the decision, well, regardless, the decision is on anybody of whether or not they want to take medicine or not. But when you are pregnant or breastfeeding, it really is your decision on weighing the pros and cons of things. But I'm going to go with that's why they put her on Zoloft. But anyway, and no, it is not a start and stop med. I was put on a very low dose in case we did want to start trying at first, right? So that way, if I did get pregnant and wanted to discontinue that, it wouldn't have such a hard effect on me and my body. It was a very low dose of it to begin with. But yeah, the higher dose on many of these medicines, the higher the dose, you got to be very careful about getting off of some of them. Some, it depends. But I I'm not on a very high level for when we had that conversation for that reason. But yeah, absolutely, you are not wrong, Rachel. Anyway, sorry.
And was spun out of control. Well, because you didn't hear evidence because she was bipolar. You don't give a bipolar person Zoloft, but she got it.
No,
Even
that's
if
not true. That's not true. You don't give a person with bipolar disorder, not a bipolar person, you don't give them Zoloft without giving them a mood stabilizer as well. Again, many people with bipolar disorders are put on antidepressants, mood stabilizers, sometimes antipsychotics. So they try not to do antipsychotics unless you are in the middle of a crisis. Because here's a common misconception that many people confuse bipolar with, and that is that we are not sick all the time at all. We only have episodes. We can go years without ever being sick. Just if it does not affect your day to day, right? You can be fine for, 2 or 3 years, then, boom, here you are in a cycle. It is not an everyday, we do not live with it every day. Now, when you're in the episode, yeah, you're living with that every single second of that day until it decides it's over. But a lot of people tend to think that it's a constant, and it's not. Um, so they try not to do antipsychotics unless you are in a crisis. And then usually they'll wean you off and take those off of those when they feel that you are in the clear from that episode. But they will always have you on a mood stabilizer. That could be lithium. There's some off-label Lamictal is one of those. That's mine. That's my mood stabilizer that I'm on as well. Um, but yeah, you're not unwell all the time, despite what people get wrong often.
see what the effect was that it had on her as that week went on, as that month drove on, and she couldn't sleep, and she was unable to emote, had no emotions, had no feelings, was unable to really react to anything, but had to take care of the kids. And as the government says, well, she was able to talk to people, she was able to talk to neighbors. Sure, you're gonna hear, because they don't call them, we're gonna call them. People that knew Lindsay as a mother, people that knew Lindsay, teachers of those kids will indicate what kind of a mother she was, as will neighbors, as will friends, as will people that saw her during that period of time. You're going to hear evidence from Patrick as to the effect that this sickness had on her. She was looking into it. You're going to see her Google searches. You're going to see her Google searches go on and on and on about how to take care of postpartum, what type of drugs, can you become addicted to benzodiazepines? What about, is it possible to have a treatment, a ketamine treatment? What do I do as far as insomnia? What do I do about my thoughts to kill myself? Ways to kill, how do you kill? What do you do to kill? Government lashes.
Those all sound normal to me.
She's looking up ways to kill. Let's make that a basis of our prosecution on this case. This is not a righteous prosecution. They're looking for every single piece of evidence that they can to show some ridiculous concept that she wanted to kill her beautiful kids because she didn't want to be a mother anymore.
Hi, Lainey.
This is a woman that was a nurse.
Stupid
She
argument.
worked for one of the best hospitals in the country. She was in a labor delivery. You're going to hear from labor and delivery nurses that will tell you how dedicated she was. Cora was named after the very, very first baby that she delivered as a nurse in the hospital. That's where the name Cora came from.
Oh, I didn't know she
Cora was named after her first delivery. This is a woman who did nothing in her life but dedicated her life to helping people and be a good person and a good nurse and a great mother. And as time went on, looking like anyone else would, please help me. That's what it's all about. Give me help. And you can say, well, the government will say, God, she was able to talk to people. She wasn't drooling. She wasn't putting tin foil inside of a hat when she was going to the schools. No, she was able to talk to people. We actually have, meaning the government, we have video of her and Patrick and the kids at the Museum of Science, and they were actually having a good time. We also have video that shows them down at the Cape Cod, down the Cape, with the kids, and they're in bathing suits. I guess she was fine.
Oh,
She put on a pretty good face. So what does she do? She goes to see, September 12th of 22, she looked for a psychiatrist. That's when she hooks up, if you will, with Dr. Jennifer Tufts, early October of 22, initial appointment. October 20th of 22, reports the adverse reaction that she was having to the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor Zoloft.
I was put on Paxil, by the way, in my early stages, within the first 6 months of me trying to get help and try different medicines. And I ended up developing, what's it called? Akathisia, I think it is, which makes it so your body can't stop moving and you want to peel your skin off. And at first I thought it was my anxiety because I have very, very severe anxiety. But no, it was not from that. And as a matter of fact, it's also dangerous to have. Many people lose their lives to it because it's unbelievable, unbearable. I went to the hospital. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, the reason that happened to me is because now I got that from a prescriber. I don't think he had any ill intent, but I had reported that I had a platelet disorder. And so when that started happening and it went on, they immediately took me off of that. And they gave me Ativan for just a week because it's a benzo and they do not really like messing with those, but just to make sure that while I was coming off that and having those symptoms, that it would keep me from harming myself, basically. And it wasn't until I went to my hematologist about a month and a half later for a check-in that he was like, oh, yeah, because you have a platelet disorder, certain SSRIs might do that. to use. So be very, very careful about taking them. And so I called back my, psych provider, and they had no idea about the connection between platelet disorders and some SSRIs. So that's why I'm saying, like, when it comes to medicine, it is like dartboard, and you have to deal with the symptoms and how long you can put up with them. Now, all of my providers have said, hey, here are the extreme possible side effects. If you experience any of these, call us immediately. And, because pretty much every psych drug comes with a black box warning. At least all the SSRIs I know of do, which, can lead to suicidal or homicidal thoughts. They have that warning for a reason. So it's going to be very interesting in this trial for them to try not to blame the medicine, the state, because those warnings are there for a very good reason. What is this case you're rewatching this? Oh, this is just the opening statements of the Lindsay Clancy, Massachusetts versus Lindsay Clancy. I'm not going to be covering the trial in full, but we're just watching the opening statements today because it is a very, very interesting case. So there was a crash in Buffy's living room. I mean, yeah, it's hi, Callie. Hello, welcome in. It's a heavy one. It's a heavy stream. I'm just letting y'all know those coming in. So, yeah, everybody has different ones. So, did I have the brain static? No, thank goodness. But I have heard several people's stories about the static or the brain zaps. I fortunately did not experience any of these brain zaps that can happen. But this isn't like this is crazy because there are very few drugs used for mental health that anyone would really freely want to take. I mean, they're not, it's not like going shopping like pain doctors or something like that. Like, not a lot of it is very fun medicine that you're gonna like get high with, except for some benzos and, stimulants. But for these kind of illnesses, very few are ones where you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good time. No, none of them are a good time. So it is called practice in medicine for a reason. Yes, that's true. Okay, let's see. So this is every time Lindsay sought professional help. And so far, it looks pretty normal to me.
November 16th, she goes to the South Shore Hospital emergency room because she was so depressed and so maxed out from lack of sleep and so unable to emote. She couldn't laugh, she couldn't cry, she couldn't have any feeling. She was a robot. She went to South Shore Hospital. She was referred and engaged with South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health. This was Patrick's mother. This is Patrick's mother, Mrs. Clancy, who's a nurse, well-respected nurse, wonderful woman. She works at the South Shore Hospital, labor and delivery as well. She knows Lindsay. And she told Lindsay, you gotta go to this outfit here, which was the South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health. She didn't look them up because she wanted to get drugs. She was referred by her mother-in-law, who's a nurse. She went to see these people, November 21st of 22. When she was engaged at the South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health, she's going on one drug to the next to the next. The drugs that she was prescribed, you see here, and you'll hear evidence that
In 4 months?
first off, Jennifer Tufts, September 15th, 22, sertraline, that's the Zoloft.
Okay.
Then lorazepam, October 21st, Jennifer Tufts. Then hydroxyzine, Jennifer Tufts.
Does anybody know, is there like a printed out list of these that I can like look at after this is over? If so, if there is, I'd really like to see this because already I'm just like, damn, that whole list is in 4 months, but I'd like to see it if anybody has it.
Lorpazan, Jennifer Tufts. Buspirone, Jennifer Tufts. Lorazepam, increase, Jennifer Tufts. Buspirone, increase from 1 milligram to 5 milligrams, Jennifer Tufts. Trazodone from another individual.
I've literally tried most of these
10
already.
milligrams from another person named Julie Paul. Julie Paul worked at the South Shore Hospital when she went there to go to try to get some help from South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health. More medications.
No, there were a lot of benzos in there
Spiraling,
too.
Continuing on down. Pat lived this, and he will testify to what they went through. At this point, at the end of November, around Thanksgiving, she's reporting disassociation and confusion. They put her on Remeron.
Ooh,
This is around Thanksgiving. Things were so bad at this point that her mother and father.
let me tell you something about Remeron. I have never taken Remeron, but the people in my support group had, and they said it was probably one of the worst antipsychotics they had ever been on, ever. And it's harder, like, the longer you on it, the more you have to be weaned off, and you have to be weaned off very particularly. And it's compared to trying to get off of heroin. It's very, very serious. And at first, it seemed like this amazing drug, but listen, from the people I knew in my support group, who that was the one that everyone was like, nope, don't even. You do not want to go through the process of trying to get off of that. So that's interesting. Oh, Angie sent me one of, the psychiatric medications. Thank you, Ange. Appreciate that. We'll go over that after we're done with the, I think the opening statements are almost done. They're pretty quick.
Came up from Connecticut and lived with them to take care of the kids, to help, because she was walking around absolutely a zombie. She would rock on the sofa, crying hysterically, banging her head into the pillow of the sofa. Patrick will tell you what he observed with her. She dealt with her parents. Her parents were there to try to help. Is this someone that's faking because she doesn't want to be a mother anymore?
Yeah.
The parents were there. Mother and father, wonderful people. Mother's retired. Dad took pictures of high school kids for yearbooks. They did what they could. Coming into December, after Thanksgiving, and they went, by the way, during the holidays, down to Connecticut at one point to visit with the family. But December 4th, she calls a suicide hotline seeking help. December 5th, she's evaluated by what's known as the Aspire Crisis Team. You'll hear evidence about that. December 6th, the next day, they have an appointment with Nurse Gelada. Now, Nurse Gelada comes into this action because, again, not looking for more doctors. Paul retired or left or went to another job.
Typical.
So all of a sudden, Nurse Paul, who was treating her and prescribing meds, leaves. Here's Nurse Gelada. She's now going to be your person you deal with. That's all. She wasn't looking for some other doctors to get a.
Also, when like you go to get help from a clinic of any kind, the turnover rate, I can't even tell you how many doctors and nurse practitioners they've had in the last 8 years. Because you'll have them for 4 to 6 months and then they'll go get a job elsewhere. Like it is also not a field where it's just like that person stays solidly like there or in the, especially at clinics, but it, you would look at mine and think that I was doctor shopping. It'd be like, no, they just come and go and it gets put on to the next, person. It's not that weird at all. So far, nothing he said alarms me at all in her experience in how she went about getting help. This is exactly how my first 6 months at least. It took much longer than that to get out of that episode, but the first 6 months of trying to get help, trying to navigate the system of medicine and all of that, it's exactly the same experience. So, yeah, holiday, yeah, it's awful, awful.
Medication. She now is dealing with Gelada. They have an appointment with Nurse Gelada, and Pat goes with her because he was so upset and says to Gelada, you'll hear evidence, do you think possibly that she's over-medicated? Do you think somebody screwed up? And she says, it's possible. And then she puts her on more medication. She puts her on, December of 2022, you're going to see that Nurse Gelada, who is now on this chart, is in blue. Nurse Gelada puts her on quetiapine, 25 milligrams. November 30th, December 6th, diazepam, 5. December 7th, diazepam. December 7th, quetiapine. December 9th, diazepam, 5. December 13th, diazepam. And then she goes back to Jennifer Tufts because they just couldn't handle dealing with Rebecca Gelada because she wanted to wean off the drugs. Gelada told her to stay the course. She ends up going through the December 19th, 21st, 22nd, dealing with quietapine, 300 milligrams of quietapine.
Is that Seroquel?
Now,
300
what happens
milligrams?
is They then suggest that what she has to do is go to Mass General Hospital. She goes to Mass General Hospital. At Mass General, they say, well, you can do like a day program, or you can go to this fantastic program down in Rhode Island called Women and Infants Program. So she goes to Women and Infants Program. She goes down for a day. She sits there in a group with other mothers and they talk. And they look at her medication and they say, you're going to see it in the medical records. We can't really help you as postpartum, and that's what they specialize in, because you've got medications that you're going to have to clear because the medications can be affecting you. She was there for a day.
Mm-hmm.
One day. They never said anything. You're not suffering from postpartum. Postpartum, every one of these doctors and nurses knew that she was suffering from postpartum. And now it's turning into psychosis. Now as she goes through the period of time, in January 5, Aliyah Goodhart from McLean Hospital puts on trazodone, 50 milligrams, lorazepam, 1 milligram, leaving the hospital. She goes to that hospital on New Year's Eve. She and Patrick decide this is it. The two of them get in their car. Family takes care of the kids. She goes to the hospital. Now it's locked wards. She goes into the hospital. She's there for 4 days. During that period of time that she's there, she's in group. She doesn't see a doctor but once. There's no discussion of medications till the very end. You'll see the medical records. You can look at the medical records. You'll see that her daughter's birthday was coming up and she wanted to leave rather than the 5th on the 4th. This is not a discharge against medical advice. They cleared her. They said, yeah, fine, you're okay, good. Good luck, go home. She went home and she went to the birthday party. The government will have witnesses apparently to show that she was able to socialize, like, hi, how are you, at the trampoline where they had the birthday party for Cora. She's still living in a nightmare. During this period of time, January 9th, back to Jennifer Tufts, puts her on diazepam. Jennifer Tufts kicks up the trazodone to 150 milligrams. January 13th, you've got Rebecca Gelada, puts her on diazepam. And by the way, when she was down at Rhode Island in the nurse and babies hospital, not a hospital, it was like a service. The people that were treating her for that one day reached out to Gelada to find out what's up with the medication, and Gelada never called them back. You're going to hear evidence, and it's in the medical records, that when she and Patrick called Gelada
Oh, you know
to
what?
say,
It's not
I
Remeron
gotta wean
that
off this.
that was talked
She didn't
about.
want more drugs, she wanted off the drugs.
Risperdal, I think it
Gelada
was.
says, stay the course, she's going on vacation.
Risperdal.
I'll see you in a week. Comes back in a week. You're gonna see that now Jennifer Tufts puts her on
Okay.
diazepam, 2
I'm
milligrams.
going to correct myself real quick. It was not Remeron, as I said earlier. I was like, wait a second, because then when I saw the generic name for it, I was like, no, that's not right. Risperdal. Risperdal is the one that people were talking about in my support group and how awful it is to go to get off of. I just want to definitely retract that and say the right thing. It's an antipsychotic, used to treat those sorts of things. But Remeron, no. Risperdal, yes, is what my comments earlier were about. I do not want to give misinformation.
January 16th, amitriptyline, 10 milligrams. January 16th, diazepam and diazepam between Tufts and Gelada. The last script is diazepam, 2 milligrams, January 23rd. During that period of time, you can see that on December 20th and 22nd, she was evaluated at the Women's and Infants Partial Hospitalization Program in Rhode Island. December 30th, she returned to Mass General Hospital emergency room. December 31st, that's after Mass General told her to go to the hospital, you can go to McLean. New Year's Eve, December 20th of 22, they were admitted to McLean Hospital for psychiatric treatment. January 6th of 23 was post-discharge follow-up appointment with Dr. Tufts. January 10, 16, and 23, appointment Dr. Tufts, Dr. Tufts, Dr. Tufts. Day before the killings, Dr. Tufts. These are the medications that she was on, that she had filled, that she took, that she didn't take, and apparently, according to the opening statement by the government, was manipulating the doctors, not telling the doctors. She told them that she was suicidal. She told them that she had suicidal ideation, and in December, to his and her ever dying regret, told Patrick in the presence of her mother that she was having psychosis thoughts of hurting the children. This is a woman that did not get the medication, did not get the medical treatment that she so deserved. This is a woman that was suffering
There we
from
go. Okay.
psychosis at the time that she went down to that basement. She had no motive. She loved her children. She intended to kill herself. She didn't fake that. Threw herself out the window. Goes to the hospital. You're going to see that when she's in the hospital, they said to her, you want to, what do you call it, a DNR? Do not resuscitate her. Without absolutely did not want any DNR. Didn't want to be resuscitated, wanted to die. To this day wants to die. That's what we're dealing with on this prosecution. So you're going to hear from witnesses. It's going to be emotional. And thank you for your service. Thank you.
Well, all right. So that is opening statements for the Lindsay Clancy trial. Oh boy, gosh, do I want to watch this whole thing, but I know it's going to be so not good.
I want to hear the experts. This is going to be a battle of the experts, and that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, hold on. Angie sent me some list, which I'm going to use, but also I'm looking for the date one. If I can just, oh, all right. I got it here. Okay. That way we can do the side-by-side comparison. So I have those up on Discord and then here, because I really want to talk about this because so far nothing was said about her experience that seems anything wrong with it to me. I mean, I think she's being over-medicated, but I meant from like her telling of like, oh, you go in, you don't know what's happening, you're getting help, and they start that whole thing. Been there, done that. Hold on, let me let Zoe in. And then I'll pull that up for us. First of all, I just want to say, what the fuck is the state thinking? I mean, oh, okay. I don't know how they're trying to sell this story or why they're trying to sell this story. I can't think of many doctors that would be like, yep, faker at all.
I mean, I have my own hypothesis. I feel like there's a lot of public out. Somebody wants somebody to pay. And I feel like,
well,
that's why.
That's one theory. The other is I'm sure there's some lobbying being done, and a system that wants its ass protected because again, this happens way more than it should. So
you think it's a drug in your opinion, maybe drug companies don't want to be held responsible, and we're like,
the
no, we
hospitals,
have
the
to make this happen
providers,
because yeah.
Because remember, they all give donations, and many of these people are elected officials.
Well, I do believe there's a civil suit her husband has against a doctor, I think.
Probably. I would. I absolutely would.
I'm not sure which doctor, but a doctor.
Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm only speaking from my own personal experiences in similar situations and my own experiences.
Look how back to back these are.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, not a doctor, not even a witch doctor, Savage. But I'm just sharing my own personal experiences in when I entered this world in quite a crisis. So I can relate to that, even if mine wasn't directly from postpartum. It's still a crisis, and all crises are the same in the sense that You just
I
want it to stop. Yeah.
I
So
didn't realize how back to back they did. Like, wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Seeing the dates on these? Mm.
hmm So they start off with sertraline first, which is the Zoloft 25 milligrams. That's what I'm on now, which is a very low dose of Sera of Zoloft. I have the cheat sheet for the names because some of them I don't know the uh non-generic names of, because mine are always generic. Let's see. The next one, lorazepam. That's Ativan, so that's a benzo, all right, benzodiazepine, which are very serious drugs. Now, two things. Um, One, benzos are extremely dangerous, physically, extremely dangerous. There's only two things in the world that when you try to get off of, if your body is addicted to it, that can kill you, and that is alcohol and benzos. Both can kill you trying to get off of them. Now, she's at 0.5 milligrams, which isn't a very high one, and she's not on it for very long. But they also, you have to be careful with them, mixing them with other kinds of medications, because that can cause problems too. It is very hard. Well, if you're going to, real psych doctors and stuff and not some GPs like people I know in the past who would be prescribed Adderall and what's Xanax at the same time, which is a death sentence. Um, anyway, they're not going to prescribe benzos very often unless you're in crisis, and even then, because of the dangers of them, people are very hesitant because they can be, again, very, very addicting physically. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Kakan. You too. You have I assume you have a channel too. I'll have to check that out. Um, so let's see. Seichi says there's very heavy skepticism of mental health defenses. People think it's so easy to fake. Real mental health struggles like this is not faked, and it is not easy to fake them. I mean, at all. Because most of the time when people do, they get things wildly wrong because they've never experienced it before, where you can be like, that's not how any of that works for most of us. Okay, so she's on Zoloft. They give her a benzo, I imagine, to decrease her anxiety. Hydroxyzine, that's used for anxiety. I have a 50 milligram of that. It's take as needed.
It's
It's
also for sleep.
for sleep, anxiety. It's basically like super prescription strength, like Benadryl. It's not a serious category of things.
I
Um,
can't take that.
yeah, and remember, everybody's going to have different reactions to these medications, but that's just what I know that they're from.
25 milligrams puts me in zombie mode. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I do 50 now, and you wouldn't really notice a whole lot. It slows me down a little bit. You can kind of tell when I do have to take it. But it's not like that's the thing is I've learned because I've taken many, many of these medications is that like, for example, Ativan or Klonopin, right? The benzos that I've had to take a few times in my life, I would take them and I would just feel normal and at ease afterwards. And I even remember commenting like, "People take these to get high? Like, that's so weird to me because it's not I mean, I just feel normal now." My therapist and doctor were like, "Yeah, because you have the thing, so they're working for you."
Yeah.
Because you don't feel high like I didn't
No.
anyway. You just
I
finally come down to a normal baseline.
I was on Klonopins for a
Mhm.
period of time due to some
Right.
horrible things that were happening. And whoo, that took the edge off. I mean, I didn't feel high. It just felt like I was able to breathe. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, it really I'll tell you what, Klonopin made a huge difference in my life trying to get through some really intense, severe anxiety, panic attacks. I mean, it works. It works.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also you don't want your prescriber wouldn't want their patient to be on it for a very long period of time. Because again, then you have to wean back off of it because it is very, very dangerous. But I'm not surprised if she's in the middle of a crisis that they are giving her some of these things. That's like, okay, there's that. So they end up upgrading her, what is this, Ativan, up by 0.5 milligrams. So, and then buspirone is that Wellbutrin?
It's Buspar. It's Buspar. It's for anxiety. My
Okay.
daughter's on that.
Okay, I have not taken that, so I cannot speak about that one. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I do every medicine I've ever been on or ask, like I do ask, and I do my own, research into the drug, so I know what to expect or not expect, right, when taking one.
You're getting buspirone and bupropion
That's
confused. My
Wellbutrin,
daughter's
right?
that's Wellbutrin. My daughter's also on that one too. So
Okay, but I've
we
never
have a
been
list of meds too over here. So some of them I know because she's on.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also bipolar.
So then that is all in like a week. See, she goes the 15th, and this is all they give her at the time. And then if you notice the time difference, that's what, about 4 weeks? Because they
And
say
that's
4
the
to 6 weeks.
mania. Yeah,
Right.
but
But
that's what they gave her that sussed out like the
right.
mania.
Well, this is an SSRI, but for about 4 weeks
Sertraline
later,
that's what the doctor just said. They gave her Zoloft and then realized that was kicking
right.
off a
But
manic episode.
we don't know that for sure. We haven't heard a professional speak about it. And the defense attorney said some things where I'm like, that's not how that works, because her next line here, this is all like anxiety stuff. It's not
I hear you,
necessarily for mania.
but that does
Sertraline isn't going to do
happen.
much for it. It does happen, but I would
Yeah,
be,
because that's how we learned the hard way at home
mm,
when they first gave my daughter an antidepressant.
yeah,
That set it off.
I would be, I want to hear the experts though, before we go saying, oh, she had bipolar disorder. And that's to be cautious, as
Oh
it
no, I
should
hear
be,
you.
right?
I'm just saying that
But
if you have that experience, that's what would do it.
yeah. Absolutely. All right. So then come basically a week later, they take her down a notch from the Ativan. I assume that's because she was experiencing it was a little too helpful, in the sense that because here's another thing that your provider should tell you. So these medicines, and this is what mine has always told me, and we're all different, and this is just based on my experience, was that any of the drugs, they're supposed to help you, make you feel like yourself. They're not supposed to make you feel like any other different version of you, worse or too much better. All right. They're not miracle curers of anything. But if you're not feeling like yourself, then that drug is actually not doing what it needs to do for you. However, it depends on your severity of illness, right? If you have schizophrenia and some very serious psychosis things, that's a little bit of a different story when it comes to antipsychotics. That's a whole different field that I have not been on very many to speak on. The antidepressants, though, for sure. Because bipolar disorder, they're like, by the way, if you're feeling too good, you're gonna need to let us know.
I want to see what the directions are on these bottles, though. He left out the like the as needed, one at bedtime,
Right.
one
Mhm.
those parts aren't on there.
Which is important, because the lorazepam could be as needed, the hydroxyzine could be. I don't know about Buspar because I've never taken it, so you would know the
My
answer on
daughter
that one.
it's either we switched it. She used to take one in the morning and
Where's
one
that?
at night. And then they
Okay.
switched it to just night because it was making her too tired during the day.
Mhm.
So now we just take the most of it at night because that's when you would sleep anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So trazodone, yeah, we'll get to that one. I was on that one. I did not a fan. It didn't work for me at all. That one, I think I was given that after the Latuda, and I was just like, no, this is not better for me at all. But these are, these are not surprising go-tos. It's really how many different, how quickly they are. But, it is an
They
SSRI
are changed very
or
quickly.
SARI. And we don't know yet until the doctors speak of what side effects she was having or reporting while on these. So, and again, every single person is different. Oh, thank you for the 30 joules, the flower. Thank you. Take on YouTube. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. So then she's on fluoxetine. I don't think I've been on that one. What is fluoxetine over here?
It's Prozac.
Oh, yep. I've never taken Prozac. So there's that with the trazodone. So 5 days later, she's put on that. Curious if they're still keeping the other one or not. Zolpidem, I don't know what that is. I've definitely never been
Oh
on that
gosh, I
one
do know that
before.
one. I just don't remember.
Oh, Ambien.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's Ambien. So she clearly, all these other anxiety benzos are not calming her down, which is a pretty serious crisis to be in. So, all right. So that's Ambien. I've only ever had Ambien once, and that was after I had my son because I had a C-section. And so they gave me Ambien that night to sleep because I was a bit of a drugged out mess. It was awesome.
The next one is Remeron.
Right. Which I don't know if you were around. So once I saw that name,
Yeah,
I
I
was
heard
like,
it.
oh, wait, I've been on that one. Yeah, I misspoke about the wrong R1. This one, it didn't do much of anything for me at all. I don't know.
This one's Remeron. Yeah.
Right.
And then
That's an
let's see. All the
NASS.
other ones.
What? I can't tell. Something in my plug. Can you hear the beep or is it just me?
I don't hear it.
Okay. Well, it's something on my end. It's fine. All right. Then clozapam, which I believe is Klonopin. Oh, it's my mouse making that noise. You know what I figured out what the problem is I have this extra base where I can plug in all of my extra cords and stuff. And I think the base is bad. And that's why my camera and stuff was being real stupid. Because now that I've plugged it in my computer today, no problems. Anyway, clozapam, Klonopin, 0.5 milligrams. That's super low dose. I did like 1. Again, clonopin, that's Seroquel, 25 milligrams. I was on that, the exact same 25 milligrams. So I was on that for sleep. Because again, I'm one of those too. I don't sleep. I don't sleep when I'm in a crisis mode or an episode. And 25 milligrams does help you sleep. You do feel a little hungover in the morning, but it is not a therapeutic level of an antipsychotic, on what the doctor told me. I am not a doctor. This is only what I know on my experience with things. Yeah, I did not have a good time with trazodone. I mean, they give that to dogs too for anxiety. It's used for a lot of different things. Yeah, absolutely is what's happening. And that's what happens with all of us. Lindsay is not, they can sit here and say she doctor and medicine shop. I'm telling you, none of these are fun time medications. Okay. None of them. All right. You're not getting high. You're not selling them on the fucking street. Well, maybe the benzos, but even then they're low dose benzos. So I don't know about all that. Um, no. It was my mouse. It's from the hooky up extra thing that I have. So, so at first, this one is just for sleeping. Then diazepam, that one is Valium. So, okay, we get more benzos. Oh my God, these are so many different benzos she's on. Okay. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But oh, she was just given one on the 6th and then again on the 7th. They must have given her, I think they're just giving her at this point maybe 7 days worth of these benzos. That's usually how it goes. So I don't know if she's on it. Then they boost her up, the antipsychotic, to Seroquel up to 100 milligrams. So my guess is she has been reporting some psychosis at this point, would be my guess, because that's the only of the antipsychotics, I think, so far, um, of these things that she's been prescribed. The diazepam, so Valium again, high dose, but then a lower dose. Lamictidrine, so this 25 milligrams. The reason why it's so low is because this one, that's a drug where you actually have to taper getting on because you can break out with a serious rash. So you start on 25, after 4 days, 70 or 50, then 75, and then whatever it is that they're trying to get you to over a span of time. This was used as my mood stabilizer. It is not much of anything serious. I forget what it's for. Isn't it for like heart stuff? And then it was used off label, the lamictidrine. Anyway, so that's what that is. They gave her some more Valium. Now they're giving her Seroquel extended release, meaning it'll release different times during the day for her. 300 milligrams. Another, was Gelada the one at the hospital? Is that what her defense attorney said? I think so.
No, I thought Gelato was the one that took over when the
Exactly.
other one left.
Okay. Thank you for that correction. Because, yeah.
She was the
Yes,
one that didn't
okay.
return the call to the hospital when the hospital tried to
Okay.
get in touch with her.
Okay.
That's what I remember. If I remember incorrectly, the chat can correct me because they love to do that anyway.
Yeah. They had her on a very high dose of Seroquel, 100 milligram after, and the ER visit. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I would guess that she was definitely reporting some
Yeah.
psychosis there. Then back on trazodone again. Back on what it was, lorazepam again. Klonopin, right? No, Ativan.
No.
Ativan.
And 4 days
Diazepam.
later, diazepam.
Amitriptyline, I'm on that too. That's actually used for, I forget what my dose is right now. I think it's 75. It's usually used for nerve pain, which I do have as well, but it also can help as a mood booster. So it's a dual one for me, and it really helped with both things. Two birds, one stone. It's not something that I'm going to say is nothing she's on here is they're all super serious, but these are not drugs that people are going to be changing doctors to drug seek, honestly. I mean, the benzos, yes, but even then, this looks exactly what they prescribe to somebody who's in crisis. The quickness of it all, though, I mean, and what these can do to the brain. Yes, that's why there's black labels on all of these things. But without a doubt, it very much seems like she was reporting being in a crisis, and they were doing everything they could at the time to try to stem off how severe it is. But again, there is no cure. This was only to, ease symptoms, you know. But that is a lot of time switching, or I'm sorry, not a lot of
Not a
time
lot of
switching
time.
between all of these, that what it could
I
do
mean,
to the brain
like
is,
every 4 days, we're putting on new medications.
and a lot of them are benzos, which are very, again, very, very serious. So she's clearly wrestling with a lot of high anxiety, possible panic attacks. But again, those are no joke. None of these are joking medications at all, really.
Or they just keep throwing meds at her. She keeps saying, "This is how I'm feeling," and they just keep throwing the same stuff and raising the dosage. And she's like, "Yeah, this is not it. It's not working for me." And they just keep throwing.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to argue. This is the reality, right? Of what looks like and why it's so dangerous. But you're on it for not sleeping, but they said the bonus was it could help my fibromyalgia nerves. Does it? Because that's kind of, I've never been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I don't know if it is what I have or not, but it's like, yeah, same. It helps with sleep, it helps with my mood, and it helps with the nerve. Well, it was first tried for my sleep and mood, and then the bonus was actually the nerve. It was the opposite way I ended up finding out about that because I don't know, I just didn't factor in that kind of, nerve pain into my mental health. And I was like, oh, okay, this is actually great. Yeah, no, some of these definitely shouldn't have, but we don't know exactly how long she was on each of these. Like how long at this point in December she's being given these new things. Are the additional things above she's still on or no? We don't really know this. We just know that this is when
Well,
she's
some of them are the same meds,
right.
and it looks like they either increased the dosages or went down in dosages. If you look at them, it looks like it's the
Mhm.
same meds being represcribed. Like this looks like a list of prescriptions, and they just upped them
Yeah.
every time she would complain. Like they just said, "Oh, we'll just increase the dosage or whatever,"
Yeah.
because it's the same prescribing doctors a lot of the time.
Yeah. How can I say she's doctor shopping? There's 3 names on this, 4 names that are all from the same place, which is not weird. So you got Tufts 1, Kevon 2, Paul 3, Gelada 4. Already did Tufts. Goodhart
Ugh, I
5.
That
But those
doesn't
were
seem like
hospital
doctor
doctors.
shopping to me.
No, some of these were from ER visits and stuff. That's not man, this state is they're
I would
they're
expect to see a
ignorant.
whole lot more doctors. And it's not unusual to be like, yeah, I don't, even if you were, it's not unusual to be like, yeah, I don't really like the way this psychiatrist is not listening to me.
Mhm.
I don't
And
like how it works. I want to go find somebody else who's actually going to listen to me because that's the
mhm,
biggest thing. You're not hearing me.
that's true. I have one doctor at the clinic, that I refuse to be. They try to get me to be his patient, and I was like, "Nope, no, thank you. I don't like that guy because he didn't ever listen to what I was expressing." And I understand, right? When this is your clientele, it can be very hard to decipher what it is they're saying. But I was very adamant and very self-aware. I take very good note. I take it very, very seriously. And I was just like, you're not even listening to what I'm saying. And, we do know that there was a point where her and her husband went in and was like, listen, we feel like this isn't working. This is either making things worse for her. It's not making her comfortable. We think she might be over medicated. And they said, no, no, thanks. And here's the one thing I tell everyone who ends up needing to get services for mental health for whatever reason. You must educate yourself and you must be your own advocate. Okay. Because this kind of stuff isn't like other medical issues, right? Where we kind of have a lot of that sorted out, right? Diabetes, heart issues, all of that. We've kind of got that under wraps to some degree, or they can physically go and look at whatever area on your body and do things that way. Mental health is not like that. It isn't done like that. And so you really, really need to be very active in that. But this is nothing. I mean, it's nothing in a sense to what the prosecution is saying. This is a lot for what the defense is saying. I just want to make that very, very clear. Because any mental health drugs are very serious. But for them to say, oh, she was doctor shopping and medicine shopping, none of these are that fun. Okay. And when you're in crisis, it's not a fun time. It's not going to make you feel, super fun. And when you are in a crisis, you don't want that zombie feeling, that numb apathy. It is awful. It is not pleasurable. Nobody likes being in that state. So oh, I don't know how they're gonna do all this. Locals and the lawyer, chat said the facility she went were all linked, so the prescription records should have been accessible to all docs on the chart. And I agree. Yeah. Again, we don't know when she started, how many she was given, all of that. We do not know that. We only know what she was prescribed on a certain date. I'm sure we'll hear these doctors are going to testify. Bet. um, Someone more, Daddy. Hi, happy to see you here. Miss you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, no, and nurse practitioners on a follow-up isn't an uncommon practice. Nope, I actually prefer my nurse practitioners over the psych doctors. It's two very different experiences. I'll just say that. In the one place I go, that is not for everywhere, and I'm not insulting all psychiatrists. All right. But I do have ones that want to just go by textbook and not listen to the person's lived experience. And that's problematic because their entire job is about self-reporting. Anyway, but that's with all different kinds of doctors too, right? You guys, it is. It's not just psych ones, but so far, yes, you are your biggest advocate in all of this. But you've had family in town. Oh, we were worried you'd forgotten about us. No, just kidding. I'm glad you were able to spend time with that. Kikon says, when you're desperate and doctors don't listen, that's the worst. You are sick and afraid, but they treat you like a hypochondriac. Yeah, and you are in crisis. Like, I cannot express the pain and the heartache that comes with it, right? We've all been in mental pain before, okay? We all, whether it's grief, whatever it is, it's awful. All right. Now imagine you have no control over your brain, right? How many of us are terrified at the idea of Alzheimer's and dementia? It's horrific, right? When your brain turns on you. What do you think is happening here? Your brain is literally turning on you. All right. You are not in control of your brain. The best I could describe it to people a long time ago that had never been through it was, imagine like you're out on an ocean and you you've fallen out of your boat, you are sinking underwater and you are reaching out that hand to help. But then when that window closes, it is like something is pulling you down into that ocean, down, and then puts you in this locked room on the ocean floor with like TV so you can like view your life of what's going on because your body has been hijacked and you're not in control of it at all. You're just watching it happen. You're there, you're conscious. I'm not going to say we're different people when it happens, but your ability to do many of the things you could, you can't. You're trapped in this room that you so desperately want to get out of. And it's awful. It's a truly horrible experience to be in. And there is nothing that makes it go away until it is ready to go away. You can only make yourself comfortable and have to stay strong throughout the whole process and know that it is only temporary. That's another big lesson you learn when going through this. Everything about everything is temporary. Your panic attack, it's only temporary. It'll go away. It will. Your depressive episodes, it's only temporary. Now, it could be months, it could be years for some of us. Not everybody is different, but it does go away. And you will return back to your normal self. But the pain you have and you experience is very, very real, even if it is from delusional thinking. So, and it takes a hell of a person. And let me tell you what, people think people that fight or people that have depression and stuff, they're not strong enough. Let me tell you what, we're the strongest motherfuckers out there. Okay. Because until you have to battle your own brain to stay alive, I can't think of anything more stronger. So if anybody ever has made you feel weak because you're not strong enough to get over it, you're not strong enough to go outside, you're not strong enough to get a shower, you're not strong enough to eat, nah, you are fighting one of the hardest wars anyone could fight, and only you can fight it, and you have to fight it alone. So we are all warriors, okay? Nothing pisses me off more than that. And that's why, also I don't get too riled up by things people say about me because it's like, oh, don't you worry. I have spent months telling myself that and fighting that for a long time. I assure you, nothing is worse than that. Again, based on what I see here, this all seems very real, of a real crisis. Her husband, Patrick, well, now ex-husband, they got divorced. I know he supports her. His experience, I'm sure, being on the other, I can't even tell you how lucky I am to have elbow feet. and be there for me through all of these things. It is exhausting to be on the other end of that, watching the person you love and not being able to do anything to help them. And then you have to take on all of this responsibility. Um, uh, they did everything they could, and something still happened because that is how it works. It's true, and that's really sad. Um, but if he, it is hard to fake all of this. It is very hard to do. And to convince the person who lives with you, who knows you, who's married to you, you know, it just doesn't happen. I'd be very, and I think he went on the stand. Yes, I didn't listen to his, but I'm pretty
He
sure.
was on the stand for the prosecution yesterday.
Okay, but I think he's
I
going on
only
for the
listened
defense
through
too.
lunch. Oh, I'm
Um,
sure.
but you see your loved one is different. You'll know when I'm bound to have an episode when we get there. You'll know. I sound different. I look different. My facial features are different. Um, you see that your loved one is it's really hard to watch on the other side, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing that person can do about it. That you can try and get your help, which is what you should do. Um, but we're all at the mercy of
Mhm.
until it passes, and that's the reality of it. And you just gotta hope that something like this doesn't happen, or that the person, you know, ends up taking their own life over it and, dies because of depression. Suicide is a symptom, all right? I wish people would understand that too. Um, and it happens a lot. So first of all, I just want to say, I know that this was a really hard, heavy stream compared to others, but I'm not going to sit there and let but somebody spew a bunch of nonsense that could affect somebody listening and thinking, oh, well, you know what? They think I'm just making it up. No, all right. It's not how any of that works. All of us that have been through it can tell you that too. So please don't let those comments think that you shouldn't reach out for help. Don't let the fact that our system is inherently not great not make you reach out for help. All right. I'm here because I did. I'm here because I did get medical help. I did get therapeutic help. I did get peer support help. I did surround myself with people who helped to build me up and make me who I am today. And it was worth it. It was worth all the headaches, the nights of endless crying because you've tried this medicine, you've tried this one, and nothing is working. The thoughts you have, I promise you, it's only temporary. Um, and it's okay if at times you feel like you're not broken or you are broken. You're not though. Okay. It's
And
not
as
real.
a family member of somebody who's going through or goes through, has been through the ringer, trying to make sure there's help out there for you too. Because
Yes,
that is it. They're going through it, but you are too.
exactly. Absolutely. I mean, elbow feet, he did therapy for a period of time. I mean, it's incredibly tough. And my heart goes out to Patrick. I mean, none of this takes away that 3 little babies are dead at all. None of it does.
No,
It's
it
a
doesn't.
truly tragic case. Because even Pat, so he left her alone for 15 minutes. It, there is, unlike, well, we still have the trial to go, but unlike fucking Rusty Yates, who's a garbage person,
Oh,
so far, it doesn't seem like Patrick was like that. He changed his job to be able to work at home. They, the family came up, all right, but you have to understand too that that voice, the darkness, that some of us like to call it, that we've never heard until you hear it. You don't control when that voice comes around, and you don't control when it leaves.
mm.
And I'll just leave it at that because I can only speak my own experience there. But I'm not the only one that that's happened to either. I know because I've talked with people who've experienced it. Um, so again, if you did absolutely, you did find my wonderful channel because I got help. Because I also suffered from agoraphobia for 3 years. And I'll tell you what, it was saying hi in a YouTube chat, watching a trial, that I ended up finding all of my wonderful friends several months later, including Buffy, including everyone that's on my team, knows how far I've come from when they met me. The idea that I'm on this side of the screen is quite baffling, but that's because it took a lot of effort to get here, not only from myself, but from my support team as well. So please reach out because there are people who have been through what you have been as well. And I am always more than willing to talk about it. It is not triggering to me to talk about it because I want to make sure that everybody feels like they're not alone and that it will be okay. So that is what we've got for the Lindsay Clancy. Hearts, loves to everybody. All right. We're all in this together. I promise. Even if we're suffering for different reasons, it's okay. We can all relate in some way. So maybe we might stop in and take a peek at the Lindsay Clancy trial as it's going on. And maybe we'll, I don't know, spend a Saturday talking about it or something. I think what I just explained to you also gives a reason why I really can't commit to watching 6 weeks of this because I do need to look out for my mental health and my triggers. And but I will be reading up on it and such. And this case is so important. So if you can watch it for me and you can be okay watching it, please do. Because this trial could have, and certainly even right now is having ramifications for people in the mental health community. All right. And sometimes we don't have voices. Sometimes we can't use our voices. So please use your voice for us, please, and pay attention to this trial and what all is being said. And there's not much anybody can do in this situation, but that is a very big thing, is to fight this stigma. All right, because I can't believe the state's perpetuating this. It pisses me off so much that they have the audacity to sit there and say what they did with what we've already. I mean, these were opening statements. We'll see. All right, we're trial watchers. We get it. But I have a feeling this case is going to go exactly how we think it's going to go, in witness wise, but we'll see. So what is this channel all about? Well, I don't know if you're on True Crime and Wine Time or if you're on Couch Court with Llama. This show right now, Couch Court with Llama, will eventually, well, it has its own channel now. We'll be moving over there permanently. Couch Court with Llama, generally, we started off watching trials together. We are huge trial watching nerds. But then I had to take a break from trials because I watched like nonstop for like 10 months and it was very exhausting and hard on my mental health. So we took a pivot break and we've been covering Laura Owens for a few months while I took some time with that. And then, so we've been covering that case, which is insane. Then we've gotten into the Bricks and Minifigs case recently. And now I want to, slowly get back into doing some trials again. Next up on our list, we are focusing on the Karen Reed civil cases. That was the first trial I covered here on Couch Court with Llama. We had watched them for years before, but under this show. So we're going to be diving deep into all of those and getting everybody caught up. So that way we can watch the hearings when they happen. And then, looking more to what's happening and stories that really do need to be talked about more. So if you haven't yet, make sure you do subscribe to @Couch Court with Llama and subscribe. We have over 200 subscribers now. We are well on our way to that channel being able to stand on its own. So please help us do that by watching the videos because we need watch hours and we need subscribers. Also do it to True Crime and Wine Time as well because I'll be doing True Crime and Wine Time shows here with Terry where, we have our podcast covering old cases. Now we're getting into the Alec Murdaugh retrial. We covered his appellate hearing yesterday, which was fascinating to watch. And we'll be doing updates and catching everybody up on that as well. So we do a little bit of everything around here. We're never bored. I'll tell you that. It's always what rabbit hole has Llama gotten us in now? I know Sarah Grace Patrick's coming up, Courtney Clancy. There's so much. I felt like it was kind of there wasn't really a lot going on for a few months. I mean, there was stuff going on, but I'll tell you what, I saw the lineup for August and September of trials. It's like
It's feast or famine.
all the ones we've been waiting years to watch.
It's always
So
feast
I
or
don't
famine.
know.
It's always there's nothing to watch or there's too much and we can't watch everything.
But like, why does it have to be when school starts? Because we have families and kids too, right? The Tupac one, all of these ones I really wanted to do. Oh, you're also a trial watcher. Yay. That's how we all started out. For us, I think that trials are the most important part of true crime. It's not everybody's bag. I get it. They find it kind of boring. But if you watch enough trials, you see how coverage can be kind of skewed. And that certain things come out in trials that actually give things a lot more context. Also, you cannot always trust the media and what they report happened on a trial day at all. Because I've watched trials and seen what the news said and been like, that's not at all what that was about. What are you saying? So trials, we watch them, all of them. I do tend to stay away from the kids ones for, as I said, I know my limits. But they're very insightful to our justice system. More people need to watch them. I mean, Karen Reed really kind of, I feel like, brought so many people into the trial watching world. Karen's not the only person that's happened to, friends, at all. We should always hold the government to the standard it should be, period. It doesn't matter if you think the defendant is guilty, not guilty, did it or not. Hold the state to the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, first and foremost, because places be playing shenanigans, but not all of them. Not all
As
of
the
them.
kids say, they be playing in our faces.
Yeah.
Okay, that was me trying to be funny. You could give me a pity laugh.
Sorry. Saichi says for lawyers with kids, it is easier to be in trial when the kids are in school. That's true. All right. All right. I'll give you lawyers a break. But could we wait until like September though? That would be great. Oh, and it's happened time and time and time again. Can't even express how often that is. And what's interesting too is it does help. All my best friends, well, not all of 'em, I do have some in real life best friends, if you want to call them that, but I met amazing, great people in communities, and that's why I'm so protective of communities. All right, it helped save my life, so I'm internally grateful to the communities out there. But even though we watch trials together, do not be fooled. We do not always agree about about it, about the trial itself and outcome, which is always a fun time because that's how it works. That is the system. But so anyway, that is all we've got for you today. Thank you for watching that with us. I think we'll probably do some more coverage of this in doses. It won't be every day, unfortunately, but I do know a lot of people are doing that, recapping at the end of the night. So please watch them as well if you want up to date information, because my schedule is, pretty full. I know some of the good lawyers are covering this case as well. So yeah. Oh, look at Ammon's interview while Ben was gagged. Which one? There's so many. Actually, I think when it comes to BAM, we're in the middle of organizing all the body cams because we tried to use the BAM map, but it wouldn't be conducive for streaming because I can't make them bigger. And it's very difficult. It's not user friendly for a content creator. So we've been working with that and because the BAM map's amazing, by the way. It's the unredacted videos that we've had to go and kind of redo so we can show it to you guys. So we're working on that right now. And then we'll be doing the body cams regarding the bricks and minifigs next. And then we'll go more into all the cases after that. You are real to me, Savage. You are all very, very real to me. and people will be like, well, you just talk to people on the internet. Yeah, and so I think that's why communities become so close, you know. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna go for the day because I have a lot of work to do. And especially with the Karen Reed stuff, because talk about a fucking mess over there. Anything you want to say before we go, Buff?
Nope.
No. Nope. I didn't laugh at her joke and look at her go. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, friends. Well, remember, take care of yourself. It is fine to reach out. You are not a burden to anyone. What is happening has happened to other people. You will be okay. If not, call a hotline, find a peer support group. They can be local or you can find them online. Help is out there. Someone is out there to listen. But until next time, friends, all right, go forth and be amazing. All right. All right. Bye, friends.